Heavy metal's coming back to the big screen? Maybe. We're going to talk about that with John Talks and more this morning on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Hey, Brad, how do you deal with the matriarchy?
Gee, Fred, we shouldn't do that. That's awfully Eastern-phobic of us.
Oh, good morning, everybody in YouTube land. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. It's hump day. We made it halfway through the week. We've gotten there so far. We got a ways to go, though. Joining us this morning, you hear that grumble, is Rob, the voice of Midnight's Edge. How you doing?
Yeah, hi, everybody.
Don't sound so excited to be here. And somebody who is excited to be here, but dealing with some technical difficulties, so do excuse that for now. Andre, the boss man, how you doing?
Well, I'm good, thank you. Apart from technical difficulties, so today, until further notice, I will both look and sound like a robot. But beyond that, all is good and well.
So nothing has changed?
Nah, pretty much the same.
No, I'm kidding, of course. And also with us is the one, the only, joining us for the first time on the morning show anyway, John Talks. You don't talk Star Wars anymore. You just John Talks.
Yeah, and I don't even talk anymore, which is kind of ironic. So, but I do want to say I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me, and yeah, excited to talk about the things we have to talk about.
Yeah, speaking of that, I got to talk to you a little bit. I love your content, John, but the last few videos where you just stare into the camera for 10 minutes straight and say nothing are kind of eerie.
Yeah, it gets a little uneasy.
I mean, how long do you expect this to work for your channel? I'm just curious.
I mean, as long as people, are tuning in for the awkwardness, I think everything's good.
Oh, okay, good. So like 10 more episodes.
You're trailblazing like a new ASMR deal, like
yeah, but it's face MR.
Yeah, well. Hey, well, if you have dogs eating like biscuits or whatever, as ASMR, like, why not John staring at you?
I probably should do something like that. Just like stare at the camera intently and awkwardly.
Wait, we have I'm seeing double, 4 Andres.
No, actually, that's probably a new thing we need to make on YouTube, face MR, where somebody just stares at you for like 10 minutes straight. Doesn't say a word, but no, we're just kidding. And then we lost Andre again.
Oh, no.
Buddy of mine.
But actually, John, you kind of switched gears a little bit. You still do talk a little bit of entertainment and stuff like that, but you do a little bit more of the political stuff now, I've noticed.
Yeah, I've just been making silly little political videos, and I would like to expand, but still keep it, I guess, on the more humorous side of things. But yeah, that's what I've been doing, and it's actually been fun. I don't mind not being on camera so much.
Right.
So
I got you. Well, I mean, being John Talks Star Wars must be almost like John lives a toxic life. You might as well put in there because that's all Star Wars is anymore. So I can imagine you just kind of had enough of it, right?
Well, I just traded it for politics, and obviously there's enough toxicity. There's toxicity in every
area.
Yeah, every realm, right?
Well, in a way, you kind of just went to the source.
There you go.
I was about to say the John, Andre, and Tom, a buddy of mine, buddy Kevin. He used to live in not the same Kevin you knew, Andre, but the different Kevin.
Yeah, I figured that's a very common name. So
there's more than one, So just all right. But anyway, when he was living in he was living down. Well, I could say it's been years since he's lived there. He was living in Austin, Texas. He used to have a cable access show called Shut Up and Drink, where he used to sit in different locations and drink beer for a half hour.
Sounds like the perfect
that
show
was
for
it.
you.
That was it. And he goes, like halfway through the show, hey man, what? This is pretty fucking cool. Yeah, it is. And he used to drink toast and he used to drink more beer. So there you go. Beginnings of ASMR.
Face MR.
Face MR. Well, whatever you want to call it. It changes. I can't keep up.
And I seen that it was Daddy Dreet's 42nd birthday. So now you should know all the answers to everything in the universe. That's how it works, right? When I get to be 42, right, Rob?
I guess.
The magic number.
That's a magic number.
I thought 3 was the magic number.
No, 42 is the answer to everything. Well, anyway, happy birthday to Daddy
42
Dree.
is the magic number. Oh yeah, happy birthday!
Yeah, happy birthday.
And then I guess Julie Strain died. Well, that's
Julie,
sad.
that was a couple weeks ago. She
I
died.
would say, yeah.
That was sad. She got a head injury and she developed early dementia from which was really sad.
Yeah, because she had a really, really bad head injury in, I think, like her late teens or early 20s, where she basically had to like restart her entire life because she lost her entire memory up until that point and started out kind of as a blank slate. She functioned really well, but that kind of thing, of course, is going to have lingering effects. And it was like one of these embarrassing things. Like last year, they announced that she had died, and then they had to unannounce it because she wasn't.
That's what I thought. That's who that was.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. All right. Well,
So,
looks like we got
I hadn't heard. Did she really die since then? Or...
Well, I think she did. Because she right not long after that anyway.
Yeah, she died in January. She died in January.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple super chats here to kick off. I don't know if this is the first one, but this is the first one I can bring up on screen anyway. Hyperguyver2, our good buddy, says, as we learned 20 years ago, heavy metal only works as an anthology film series. Characters like Tarna and Julie Strain aren't enough to carry a film. We'll get into that here shortly. We'll talk a little bit about that and maybe a little bit more. But what else you got for super chats for us, Andre? Because I think
yes, I do. I have
the only one I can bring up. I can bring up a super sticker from Roger H. I can do that. And
that's a thumbs up super sticker. And also Darius Münchhausen started us off with a popcorn super sticker. So yeah, good times in preparation for what is to come. And hi, gents. Hello, everyone. And Sondar says about to watch Demon Slayer Mugen Train in IMAX. Oh, awesome for you. And then most recently we had Spider Unlimited, who said for $10, as a musician, I am against this. Who the hell are they going to get for modern metal? Producers today be like One Direction, Zach Brown, Drake, Beyonce, the metal goddess.
Yeah, he's got a point
there.
There really isn't much for metal bands out there anymore. I mean, unless maybe they scour the Nordic region, they might find a few. What do you say, Andre? How's the music over there?
There's a ton of various metal, but like the kind of metal that you have here, like the black death metal variety, isn't probably not the kind of like happy, cheerful, go lucky metal that you had in the earlier movie. I'm not so sure that they want the Hail Satan kind of music, because that's what we have the most of. And on note,
sounds like a good time.
666 views. So yeah, probably maybe it's meant to be.
Well, before we get into the whole story, John, are you familiar at all with Heavy Metal Magazine or the movie at all?
I'm familiar with heavy metal because of Mobius's work in there. So, you know, once I found out who Mobius was, I kind of looked at, his stuff, but I don't actually own any of it. Everything I've seen from the magazine has been little bits and pieces online, but it seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Godzillionaire is not wrong. Dan Vask. There you go. He can handle the soundtrack.
Who?
He is a singer on YouTube. He's pretty good. We actually had him on Friday Night Tights. He's got a hell of a voice. But no, like, okay, music aside, that's a problem. Let's be real here. But
that's the only way I'm really know heavy metals from the soundtrack, though. I mean,
have you seen the movie though, right?
Yeah, most of it. I've been years. I saw most of it, and it's my one lasting takeaway from heavy metal is there's one song on it which is the only song credited as that has a writing credit for Pete Comida. If you don't know that name, when they kicked Tom Peterson out of Cheap Trick in 1980, they replaced him with a guy named Pete Comida who had a huge afro, and they'd like, oh yeah, this guy, he kind of looks the same as Tom Peterson. Yeah, nobody will notice. And he wrote the song "Reach Out" for the heavy metal soundtrack. And that's it. And then they kicked him out of the band, and they got a guy named John Brandt who looked just like Tom Peterson even more. Reach out and take it. Reach out and take it.
See, now I'm actually a pretty big fan of the original film. And I love the concept and the idea of the magazine. But like brought up in the super chat, I'm curious where what the music's going to be. But let's get into the story first and foremost before we get ahead of ourselves. We'll get into this. I'll send the link to Rob so he can read it, so you can listen to the dulcet tones of his voice, as R&B would say. Reading about what's going on here. It looks like Deadline broke the news that Heavy Metal and Range Media partners go to generate edgy sci-fi fantasy IP for films and television.
See, anytime I see the word edgy, not promising. Range Media Partners and Heavy Metal Magazine. Heavy Metal Magazine still being published?
Yes, it is. It is being
Okay.
published. But we'll not because information about the current publication and history. And we'll get into that. But first, read the story, and then we'll go into a brief history of Heavy Metal Magazine after that.
Okay. Range Media and partners and Heavy Metal Magazine are partnering up to exploit the film and TV potential of IP from the iconic sci-fi fantasy illustrated magazine brand Heavy Metal. Will co-produce. This is heavy. Okay, that's two sentences there.
Yeah, that was kind of funky.
Yeah, Heavy Metal will co-produce projects with Range Media, founded in 1977. Heavy Metal generated a self-titled 1981 animated hard R cult film with eroticism and violence, and stories from the magazines over the years informed such films as Blade Runner. You just lost me. If you want to maintain my interest, don't bring up Blade Runner. And The Fifth Element. The magazine published the original Alien graphic novel when the original film was released in 1979. Heavy Metal has hired Tommy Coreal as president and head of studio to spearhead the launch of its film and television divisions. Coreal is the former head of DIGA Studios, Scream and Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf? The remake or the original? I mean, because that was...
I'm assuming the TV show.
Okay. Who oversaw all aspects of the company's content creation in scripted, unscripted, podcast, and publishing. Heavy Metal CEO Matthew Medney and its chief creative overlord and publisher is David Irwin. Medney continues to also run Hero Projects. Andre, is there a special pronunciation with the O like that? Because I know that's a Nordic thing. Hira. It's like I've been punching.
Let him clear.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. That was perfect.
Just let him clear his throat, and he'll tell us.
We'll continue to also run Hira, and has written. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. It has written sci-fi graphic novels. The fact that you said it's perfect makes it more hysterical. Irwin oversees creative strategies and franchise building, and before this served as Hasbro's Transformers creative lead on properties including Micronauts, ROM, and more. Before that, he spent 16 years as creative director of DC Comics. Beyond an original film that gained cult status and a hard R rating, David Fincher once tried to put together a heavy metal anthology film, but found no takers, and he and Tim Miller repurposed the concept into something else. Heavy Metal has been quiet, but has continually been continually published. That's an awkwardly worded sentence. When it formed, Range Media Partners set a goal to identify brands it would help turn into IP producers. And so the match seems a good one here. Said CEO Matthew Medney, Heavy Metal is one of those moments in time that if presented with, one has to build an army to realize its full potential. There are no better generals I could have imagined acquiring than Peter Michelli, Michael Cooper, David Bolgiari, and the entire Range Media family. and with Tommy Coriale joining my inner circle.
Okay, we can end it from here.
Okay,
Nobody cares.
who cares? Nobody cares. Yeah, yada. Nobody cares. Okay, thank you for cutting me off because I lost it just about a couple of minutes ago.
Right. Okay. Stop me if my connection is breaking up and I need to go back to the other box. But basically, what we have here, and this is actually really important because they were very, very kind in this piece to Heavy Metal Magazine. Because here you basically see what Heavy Metal Magazine is all about these days. Traditionally, it was a comic where you had like the coolest underground talent that got to shine. It started out as a European title back in, I believe it was 1975, when it was like a French anthology magazine, then called Metal Hurlant, which means, well, I suck at French. That's like one of the languages I just can't do. But it means howling metal. And this was then discovered by an American comic book publisher that licensed it for use in America under the title Heavy Metal. And then he licensed many of the original French stories. Here then were the stories by Moebius, as John Talks mentioned, and also many American talent that started out here and in other similar magazines. Some standouts include Bernie Wrightson and other really famous illustrators that have been working from then up until this day. So some amazing talent have been working on Heavy Metal Magazine. The title was so cool that Kevin Eastman, the guy who created Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he actually bought Heavy Metal Magazine in, I don't recall exactly which year, I think it was like the 80s sometime, and then he served as functionally editor-in-chief and primary owner, and he did that up until 2014. And then he was a minority owner still, but it was other people that run the day-to-day business. People like Mark Waid, like Grant Morrison, like the people that are typically Marvel stock. And they did with the magazine as has already been done with Marvel, meaning it took a turn for the extremely political. This did not work out too well. And this is kind of like what they were alluding to in the description here, when they basically said that, yes, it's still published. You won't believe it, but it still is being published. And that is because it was kind of relaunched last year. And it was relaunched with Matt Penny and David Irwin coming in to write the ship. And they have actually done really well with that. And the reason necessary is actually very much so of this deal. I know people that are behind the scenes that have some of what's going on, not specific to heavy metal, but in general. And heavy metal is now one of the anthology scenes out there, which can use to serve as a medium to bring new talent. It's accident.
You're cutting out again, Andre. Just turn off your phone too. It was causing issues with this. It's causing noise in the background as well. Sorry, folks. We normally don't have these kind of problems, but for some reason, Norway's internet just decided to conk out in the middle of the fucking show today. It's just it never fails. It's always something, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing can ever be easy.
Yeah, so half of what you just said we didn't get.
Okay. Well, then we're going to try one more time, a little bit more robotic this time, but as long as it's understandable. I don't know exactly where I started cutting out, but to sum up then, under the new owners, heavy metal is more or less an IP farm. You have some really good, talented people working there, both as editors and in writing talent that produce some amazing stuff to this day. So there's still really good stuff coming out of Heavy Metal Magazine. And there's also some not so good stuff, because just like Lucasfilm and AT&T and Warner Media, you have factions within heavy metal as well. You have those that are storytellers first, and you have those which are activists first. And because of that, the output varies a little bit between really, really good and really, really activist. So you get a little bit of mix of both. But the idea then that has been there for several years now is to basically make it an IP farm, to sell off the properties, not to sell off, but to license the properties for use in film and TV. And that is what we're seeing right here. That is what this deal is about. This is about exploiting the IPs that heavy metal does own and put them on the big screen. And there are some cool stuff in there. Like, for instance, if you just look at all of the short stories that were in the original heavy metal movie, that's some of the content that can be mined further on the big screen. But it doesn't have to be just that. You also had like Heavy Metal 2000, which was a much more original story. You have so many stories and characters to draw from heavy metal that I think this could be really, really cool if you get the right people working on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential there for sure.
There absolutely is, because you have some amazing talent that's been working on heavy metal over the years. You have people like Richard Corbin and his stories, which make for some amazing fantasy. You have, I think that heavy metal owns the rights to some of the Jodoverse stories. I don't licensed for you, but I think that they own them. So yeah, in talent pool draw from there, and such breadth of source material. I mean, you could even do an original anthology series. That would be fun too, to be like one thing. But there is so much cool stuff in like the 50-year history of the magazine to draw from that this can be tremendously cool, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would almost I don't know, you don't see too much of this happening, but it would be neat if they did like they took all the cool aspects of the magazine and they did like 6, maybe 5 or maybe even like 4 short films in one movie, right? Where it's like they do like these half-hour segments and they kind of just explore some of the coolest aspects of the magazine. And they just kind of stand on their own. I don't know. There's definitely a ton of different ways they could approach this. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like vision and the sci-fi element, I mean, there's just a lot to, it really could be a lot of fun.
Hello? Dead air? Dead
Yeah,
air.
is anybody I like did everybody I'm like not hearing a single thing. Just like even sound.
We're all captivated and by your delivery there, John.
No, it wasn't that good, but no, I was concerned. I was going back to the
don't make me get the kazoo out. And so
but yeah, what do you guys think about this?
Like you said, I'm not that huge a fan of heavy metal, the genre or the magazine to begin with. And so
well, you're surely into the South Park parody.
Have I seen the South Park parody? I don't know.
Oh, you haven't seen that even, because that was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not
Tom,
sure.
you've surely seen the South Park parody of heavy metal. That's the one where where the teacher tells them that do not get high on cat pee, because that will get you really, really high.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
How would you go about that?
I didn't make the connection.
They
But yeah,
shoot it
no,
up,
that was
or
yeah, no, they sniff it
oh,
in a
okay.
really weird way. And then they got like this really amazing acid trip, which was basically into heavy metal, the animated movie.
Of course, Kenny got all. Kenny was all like addicted to it.
On the cheese. They used to call it the cheese.
Did he OD?
Yeah,
And
that made it.
that's how Kenny died.
Major
well,
boobage.
my daughter's boobage.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly how he died, but anyway, the point being then that I think this is pretty good news because within Heavy Metal magazine, you have some stories which are completely off limits because they only licensed them from other creators and from other publications. But of the things that they own, you have amazing, amazing stuff. And the two previous movies, and I actually like Heavy Metal 2000. I think that's really underrated. With like Billy Idol lending his voice talent and everything, that doesn't get enough attention, but he was awesome. I think that there's the potential for something incredible here. I mean, I'd be all for a Captain Stone movie because he's awesome.
I don't know. I kind of like the stoner aliens. No, like that main story though, that was pretty good. Like I like the Heavy Metal is one that I really dig. There's potential there, like you were saying. Again, though, I'm running into the wall of I would love a live action heavy metal movie of some type, but are they just going to use classic rock then? Because like, yeah, that's the thing that sticks out to me most is A, the music, and then B, is it just going to be overly woke? Because heavy metal is about all the shit that you can't do anymore.
That actually is a concern but this is going to depend entirely on who they team up with and their attitude set. So I think it's too early to make that call. Again, if you just go back to the Heavy Metal magazine, the traditional heavy metal, which is like when the stories were at their absolute best, it was as unwoke as you could possibly get. I mean, the whole thing would be problematic beyond words these days. And I do believe that that is something that the new editors that came in after Kevin Eastman sold himself out were very concerned with. And they ran the entire magazine into the ground because of it. But then luckily you have these two guys that came in the last year, and they still tell many female-centric stories. But again, behind the scenes, from what I've been told, it's a house divided. It's a house divided by people who are storytellers first. And they're not woke. They just want to tell good stories. And the activists who care nothing for good stories, only the message. And from something like that, you still have good stories coming out and you still have good talent. From what I've been told, the people who are the most radical aren't so much the writers, but it's people in PR, the people that are like promoting the thing. They are the true radical people. But they won't have anything to do with the movie side of things. Because again, these people, they have to team up with another party. They have to team up with an HBO Max, with a Netflix,
Right.
with something like that. And who are they going to team up with, and what kind of stories are they going to want to fund? That is what's going to ultimately determine what ends up on screen.
Yeah.
I mean, like for instance, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh no, you're good.
But like, just imagine if heavy metal had teamed up with someone like Skinemax or whatever they're called, how amazing stuff we could get from that.
Skinemax is dead, unfortunately, Andre.
Well, do we have a modern day equivalent?
Pornhub.
Okay. I don't think that's their first go-to station, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the key is to stay true to the source material. Whenever you're adapting, of course you could change up, little things here and there that need to be for the sake of, translating from, the written or rather like the visual medium to the visual medium of comic books to film, but as long as you stay true to the spirit of what that material is, I don't think you can't go too wrong. But once you start messing with that and you start changing like the basic element of what it is, that's when you piss off fans. And those are the people you need to cater to first. And then hopefully you've created something that can branch out to a wider audience and that is just attractive to them too. But you need to at least service the fans, because if they'll know, like fans know. We've seen this with Star Wars, where it's like you have people that are handling Star Wars who have no idea, like they don't even understand what the thing is that they're doing or working on, and then that of course you piss off your main fan base and you lose easily half of them by the time you get to the third installment of your film, or your trilogy. So you gotta stay true to the spirit of whatever it is that you're adapting, or it's you don't just what's even the point of doing it in the first place.
Exactly, and that's actually apparently a big reason why the magazine went into the gutter after the new owners took over in 2014, because then they lost touch with what the magazine had done before. The publication schedule became even more erratic than it had been, whereas now, since these two guys came in last year, and those two guys, again, that would be Matt Medney and David Irwin, they have cleaned up considerably, both the scheduling side. Now they have like separate, like standalone comics in addition to the main magazine. All of this is basically to work as an IP farm, and there doesn't have to be anything wrong with that, as long as the stories told are good. And increasingly, I get the impression that they are. So as long as they're able to latch onto what works on the big screen, whether that be like the really big screen or your big screen in the home cinema on a streaming service, I think this can be cool. It'll be exciting to see what they do with the music, though, because yeah, you're right. This is a valid concern. The music that we associate with heavy metal, that was like 70s and 80s music. You don't have too much of that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even a lot of those bands aren't even really. I mean, that would be cool if you got a lot of classic bands.
Yeah.
To do new music, that would be really cool. But like, again, the only way that this thing has potential, and I think you're right, Andre, and kind of a little bit to what you were saying too, John, is basically, they've got to get on. They got to get a Conan deal, and they got to be able, but they also have to want to make it what it actually is, unlike what it sounds like they're doing to the magazine. Which, I fell out of the magazine years ago. Last I knew, Kevin Eastman owned it. I didn't even. I haven't really paid attention since then, and I didn't want to, knowing the way that the world was now. I'm surprised that the magazine's even still being printed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's being printed as an IP farm, first and foremost. And because of good storytellers and some good editors, you still have good stories coming out of it.
No, but there's potential here. You have an endless amount of movies. You can do an animated show. You can do all kinds of different stuff set in this idea. Because that's the best part, is it's not even a universe per se. It's just an idea with a label on it. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
It's kind of like Tales from the Crypt or a Twilight Zone.
That's exactly right. It's an anthology thing. And yeah, you're right. They need a Conan deal. And for those that don't recall our interview with Fredrik Malmberg, the keeper of the Conan legend and all things Conan, the Netflix deal starts with series, but within that they can also do animated stuff, they can do movies, they can do pretty much anything. It doesn't have to be a strict season by season regime. It can be a little bit of whatever is needed.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've already had a lot of films that they even mentioned here in this article that have obviously been influenced by heavy metal, and most of all probably Fifth Element, which is almost like a direct ripoff visually and somewhat story-wise of the one story in there. But I mean, again, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would love to see a live action version of the John Candy story, in the last story. And a lot of the stories in the film, I would love to see live action version, even the one with the aliens with Harold Ramis and shit like that.
What about the one with the robot mouse?
I think that's the one that Andre was talking about before with Captain. What's his face?
Oh, I remember. No, Captain Stern was the one with hand over fist.
Okay,
yes,
it's been a few years.
Yeah,
it's been a few years since I've watched it, but
that was the segment with the Cheap Trick song in it. So I mean, that's why I remember that.
But also, like a Captain Stern, that's an original character by Bernie Wrightson, and Bernie Wrightson, he's one of like the great comic book storytellers and artists to come out on it. Like, he's worked on both Marvel, DC, and everything, because he's just so good. And he wrote another Captain Stern story as well, which ran for like 5 issues back in the 90s, and that was an amazing story with time travel and everything. And just seeing that on screen could be awesome. So I don't necessarily mean like that I want to see Captain Stern because of that one story, but because that's an awesome character that you can do many cool things around.
And the Fifth Element was designed by Jean-Claude Mizrahi, who draws the Valerian series. Then obviously he watched heavy metal quite a bit before he did that. No, I don't know which one came first.
Yeah. And he probably read a little bit of 2000 AD as well, because like there are many similarities between the British anthology magazine 2000 AD and heavy metal. Indeed, you have like some of the stories from one appearing in the other, and also many of the talent today work in both magazines.
Yeah.
So there's
I mean, clearly there was a French influence to begin with, but I mean,
oh, absolutely, and the French, they're so good at sci-fi and fantasy, so incredibly good, and only a fraction of all of the cool stuff that they have made has been released for basically outside of France. Some more is available in Europe. But more is being published like recently under Europe Comics is publishing some of those stories. Yeah. So the French absolutely knock it out of the park, sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly potential here, but I think we're all kind of on the same page as not in this day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, unlike well, you cut out there, Rob, but unlike Conan, I mean, that has Frederick to kind of oversee and say yay or nay on it. I don't know if heavy metal has that.
Yeah, no, that's like the thing, because who would have the ultimate power in terms of a series? Well, it's probably going to be the Range Media Partners team that is mentioned here. Probably it's going to be outsourced to them. That's kind of like my reading of this story right here, that they have found someone that's going to oversee development, and then probably it's going to be their call. So whatever happens, the people who is going to be there and say yay or nay will be them. And are they fit for it? That I don't know.
Well, just from the fact that you have so many scantily clad women running around, and in Heavy Metal magazine and everything like that, and like I said, that the robot mouse doing coke, and those guys having sex with the girl having sex with a robot mouse, and the girl at the end, I can't remember what was the girl's name at the end who saved. The riding the giant eagle or whatever it is.
Yeah. The one that's in the thumbnail of this video. Yeah.
Well, whatever it was, but
there's a big difference between a really hot chick on an eagle and a really hot chick on a dragon, Rob.
Well, just work with me here. Just I can see though, like, oh my, the male gaze.
Yeah.
We have to prevent the male gaze. Who do you think this is for?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Well, there are ways around that. I mean, they're trying in Red Sonja, but that's a different matter. But yeah.
Well, no, that's what I was getting at. Is no, there's no way I want a tamed down PC heavy metal.
Well, the only thing is they have to make the decision. Hey, guys, we're gonna go balls to the wall in this, regardless, and just don't be swayed by Just turn off Twitter. Just delete your Twitter accounts. Don't pay attention to it. Just do what you do. Okay, we don't care. That's what they're gonna have to say. If people are gonna criticize this, let them.
Here's my advice. Yeah, if you get a gut instinct that you may be going too far and this is just way too sexist or gory or
Go with it.
overt, go with it.
Yes, yeah.
That's what heavy metal is. It takes it to the it takes it up to 11 every time. That's the whole point of it.
Yep.
I mean, that's why we loved it as kids. It was like it was like contraband. Like we weren't supposed to even be reading it. You know what I mean? It was like you would find it next to the Playboys in your older brother or your dad's drawers. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what's wrong with being sexy?
No, sexist.
Oh, okay. Just a fine line between clever and stupid, isn't it?
Yes. But no, I mean, that's the thing is I don't know anybody out there that I could trust behind this right now. I just don't.
Yeah.
Actually, somebody in the chat just said this. If they make a live action movie, cast Brie Larson and make her wear the boob armor. Oh, I am not wearing this. Too bad, honey. This you look at your contract.
Kill the momentum on this real quick.
But just make her squirm out of it. Just make her do something that she doesn't want to do. You know, like I said, just that would be just she's like, I felt so dirty making this movie. And it'd be like, tough shit. It's out there.
And then brings up they also had Den. There was something for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, that was from Richard Corbin, who is another amazing illustrator in his own right, and who also recently left this plane of existence. So rest in peace. Shortly after finishing his final story again for Heavy Metal magazine, like Mud World or Murky Worlds. Yeah, that was like the final thing he did for Heavy Metal.
Yeah. So I mean, I wish I could be more excited for it. I really do, but I'm more in fear of it.
Yeah.
What we're gonna get out of it, but
I think that's a very, very healthy attitude to have. Like, this is one where I think you have to be worried until it's proven that there's no reason to be. And as you say, they don't have a Fredrik Malmberg. Well, of course, they have someone like that, but we don't know where do they stand. What's their attitudes? What kind of changes are they willing to see? That would be interesting to see and to know.
Yeah, because the potential here is really huge. I mean, we've never really had an anthology series like that on television or on streaming or something to where there's just this open world. You know what I mean? Where like it's almost like Dungeons and Dragons in a way. Like there's endless possibilities of things you can do, and you're not stuck in one structure or one time period or one timeline even. I mean, you can just do anything. That's the great part about it. You can get all kinds of great side. I mean, that's the other thing. Pillage what's already there. There have been how many years of magazine, and I'm sure that's part of this deal, right, Andre? I mean, that's kind of why people make these deals, is so they can kind of have the resources to draw from.
Exactly, that's the whole point, because that is what heavy metal essentially is for the new owners. It's an IP farm. It is something that's worth publishing just to maintain and to create new IP that can be then exploited in various film and TV adaptations, because that's where the real money is these days, no longer in publishing. And that's the same thing with, for instance, 2000 AD. I mean, it's a publication that's on life support. It's not financially viable. The only reason that it's still being published is to keep it in the public limelight, so it's more relevant when they are able to exploit the IPs associated with it.
Yeah, and this also kind of brings into a point that you and I bring up from time to time, Andre, is when people ask, are comic book movies on the way out? And we say, no, there's always going to be something there they'll jump to next. The superhero film may not necessarily last per se, but comic book movies ain't going anywhere. And I think this is a great example. Is they're still very interested in trying to cull these IPs for something. So as long as they just kind of use what's there, I'm not going to have a problem. But we know what they tend to do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Would you guys say that the day of like the visionary director is dead? Because I feel like that's the type of person you need over a, whether it's a TV series, movies, whatever, like you need over a project like this to ensure that it isn't going to get effed up.
Well, the visionary director oftentimes doesn't succeed because there's too much meddling. There's too much studio meddling. They're more concerned with numbers rather than just letting people follow through in their vision, because in the old days, and I always point out to Frank Zappa, in the music industry, you had the old guys in the suits and the cigars. They would say, take a chance, put it out, see if it sells. And it wasn't the number guys, and wasn't the guys, the people like Kathleen Kennedy that would find all these visionary directors. It was the older guys, the Alan Ladd Juniors, and they would say, you know what? I don't know what this is about. I don't get it. I don't understand a bit of it. Hey, but you made Georgia, you made American Graffiti, so you're all right, kid. Go make your movie about robots.
The beauty of this is normally I'd be like, you need a Kevin Feige, right? Which you kind of do for this, but instead of that, it doesn't have to be somebody who needs to be beholden to one timeline or trying to keep one universe in order. All they need to basically do is just go out and curate visionary directors, like John, you were just saying. Like, imagine if it's Heavy Metal, the movie, directed by Zack Snyder, Neil Blomkamp, and James Gunn. That's
James Gunn. James Gunn actually would be a good choice for this. Actually,
it would be really cool. But again, it depends on the story, because my thought is that I don't think that the time of visionary directors is dead, but I don't think that this is the project for a visionary director.
Well, not just one. And that's what I'm saying is you can bring in many. They can bring in their own vision.
Exactly. What you need here is a visionary producer, just like Kevin Feige, who can bring in the right directors and pair with the right stories. Because if you just get one visual or a revolutionary director, he's going to want to tell his own story. He's not going to want to play in someone else's sandbox.
But then you also run into you can't allow yourself to run into the trap of say, hey, you have let's just say you have Luc Besson, you have James Gunn, and you have somebody else in the room. Hey,
Zack Snyder would actually be good for something like this.
I can see that.
Something to work with.
But the thing is, though, let's just say you get all those three guys in a room. And so, okay, guys, here's our pitch for Heavy Metal, the movie. We're going to do an anthology series. It's going to be great color. And then you get people, heavy metal. Don't a lot of white people listen to heavy metal? It doesn't sound diverse enough. We got to find a way to make this appeal to China. Oh, no. Oh, you're going to, a woman in boob armor? Oh, that's problematic.
There you go.
That's where you got to have somebody that has the success of a James Gunn, this to be able to sell. He goes, that sounds awful risky, but I trust you guys, Well,
no, and you're right, Rob. But that's what you need, basically, somebody who. But unlike Feige, they don't have to beholden anybody to anything. Like if James Gunn comes in with an idea that'll fill out an entire movie, they can let him do it. That's why they need like a Netflix deal. Or if they're going to do an anthology movie, then you have, like you just said, a couple directors get together and whatever. And the same thing if you're going to do like a TV series or a live action series and an animated series, you can allow your directors to just go wild with these ideas. And that's the beauty of heavy metal, is it doesn't have the constraints that all these other things have. Is you can go anywhere. It can be comedy, it can be horror, it can be, fantasy.
It's not specifically bound to one genre.
Exactly my point. So like you don't have to worry about keeping Zack Snyder on a leash. You know what I mean? As long as just make this comic book into an episode.
Oh, you want to do a World War II story? Oh no. Well, what about the Asian market? Yeah, we have to appeal to them. Are you sure you want to show Americans as the good guys? Oh, that's awfully problematic. Yeah, I could see a lot of that. But then, like I said, that's why you need somebody with the clout to say, listen, I'm making the movie. Trust me. You're going to have to trust me. So, and hopefully it's somebody or somebody.
I don't have a name.
That's enough.
Yeah, I couldn't throw a name out there right now, but I mean, clearly it's not going to be like a director, but you're going to need a producer.
Exactly. You need a producer to do that. The producer that has the clout, because there's no point in making one heavy metal movie, because then you have to do an anthology. No, what you want is a series. What you want, an anthology series, or something like American Horror Story, where you follow like one story for one season, and you can change everything completely up. That would be the perfect format for something like heavy metal. And in order to go balls to the walls with that, you need a showrunner, a producer that knows what the hell he's doing. And in order to get that, then first this guy that's going to be heading up their production wing, he has to be the man for the job. Is
Or
he?
she.
Or they.
They.
I don't know. I don't know. It would actually be more beneficial if it was a woman. That would be.
It could help,
Fight a good
actually.
fight.
Right, Andre.
Yeah.
But not somebody like who's the person who directed The Mandalorian, Elizabeth Chow? What was her name?
I think so.
Deborah Chow.
Yeah.
Deborah Chow, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone like
again,
her.
Yeah, she's someone that could direct one thing, but again, you need someone that can be like a producer of the whole thing. Is that her? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know who they would
Well, you
find.
need somebody who like because Krupe Kuthan's right. Like you can get people like not so much produced by Quentin Tarantino, but you could get him in to direct an episode. That's the beauty of
Exactly.
this.
That's the beauty. Yeah. That's the potential.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of heavy metal, but I could picture this being like a 6-episode season spread over 6 episodes, 45 minutes each directed by a different director, with maybe some kind of overarching kind of thing.
You don't even need
a
that though,
Lochnar or
either.
whatever. Well, no, you don't even need that. But I can picture like this, like I said, 6 45-minute episodes on HBO or some other pay service where you have a director for each one. Like you said, bring in James Gunn, you bring in Quentin Tarantino, bring in Deborah Chow, you bring in whomever you want. As long as you just let them go
John
nuts.
Favreau.
You let them go nuts. Dear guys, it's a blank canvas. Do what you want.
That's the beauty of this.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Unlike Star Wars, unlike Star Trek, unlike any of these other properties we normally talk about, this has endless potential. You want to tell a story about a cute little bunny? Go right ahead. That's the beauty of heavy metal. You just have to introduce something that makes it heavy metal, right? While that cute little bunny during the day is whatever, but at night he's some like horrid beast or something. Like that's the beauty. You could do anything. It doesn't have to be set in one timeline. It can be anywhere, anytime, any place. That's
Any universe. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be tied down. And like even you said, Andre, you could do a season arc, or it doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
That's where they need the Netflix deal.
Yeah, and that's the exciting thing here. Like the potential of this is endless as long as they get the right people working on it at every link to allow it to be the balls to the walls crazy stuff it needs to be.
Absolutely.
And that's my worry. Will they allow that in this day and age when you even have some people that are trying to hold it back within the company? Yeah, not everyone, but within the company, within the publication, you have some people who are, you're going to get the code word, deranged, and and who easily could be working alongside Daniel Kebblesmith for New Warriors. You have some people like that in there.
I do have one solution for the music. Basically, you bring in classic rock bands to do new songs, but if a new band insists on being a part of it, they have to do a classic rock song because you can't trust them to come to the table with a new song.
Yeah.
But there are some that I think could do really well.
No,
like Mastodon, Ghost.
There's plenty out there. Don't get me wrong.
They would be really good for something like that. As a fan, I want to see Rammstein, but they're all wrong because they would not fit that style. They're too militaristic for it. But Ghost would be perfect for it. And also you have plenty Italian bands like Rhapsody. Like they're just waiting for a heavy metal adaptation because they're like Jim Steinman, only heavier.
No, I know. And I mean, again, it's the world can expand with the music a little bit as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be rock. But
yeah, but I don't want someone like Lizzo on there.
No, and we don't need like, Billie Eilish and all that kind of shit. That's not heavy metal.
But you don't want somebody moaning incessantly for 4.5, 5 minutes?
You know who would be the greatest showrunner for this besides me?
Who?
Robert Meyer Burnett.
He would be awesome.
I agree.
Another one who I think would be really great, Stephen Esther Knight. He was the showrunner for Spartacus. That was that amazing series that started out really crap, but it became amazing. That series had everything that you could possibly want in a heavy metal series. He was even attached to the Conan stuff for Netflix for a while there. Sadly, it never panned out, but he would be a really good fit for a heavy metal series between him and Robert Meyer Burnett. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing is you need somebody who like with Robert, he knows all this stuff and he knows not just the movie and the pop side of things, he also knows the music aspect of it as well. And that's what you need is somebody who's going to be able to, and that's the thing that the beauty of this is it can be a very great marriage of music and ideas. And because music is dying right now outside of the internet. They don't have a lot of it's so spread out. It's not like it was back in the day where you had all the big radio stations and MTV to kind of contain all the music. Now it's so spread out, you never know. That's why when you go to the charts, it's the same artist for the top 5 songs all the time now. It's like, it never used to be that way. But, speaking of Billie Eilish, whenever she comes out with 2 or 3 songs, they're always the top 3, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, of course, because, I mean, I really start feeling like an old man here talking about music was much better when I was young. But it's really true in this case.
No, it's very true. And, there's actually statistics to show that. What's sad is this. Yeah, we just lost Jim Steinman. He would have been a great guy to help
he would have been perfect.
But
yeah, well, that's why I brought him up, because I was like thinking, oh no, like that's the end of an era. Because imagine if Jim Steinman and Meatloaf would have re-teamed up for Bat Out of Hell Part 3.
They already did 3, but
yeah, I know, but that wasn't Jim Steinman. That's
I know.
Why I say Part 3.
It does have a couple of
Steinman edition
on it, but
not that many. Okay, fine. Bat Out of Hell Part 4, then heavy metal.
The real Bat Out of Hell 4.
Yeah, exactly. How awesome would that not have been? That would have been
the only other problem is Meatloaf
like this.
Hasn't been able to sing for like 10 years, but yeah.
Well, one can dream.
and I love Meatloaf, but yeah, that's I've heard him live in a few times. Oh, dude, just no.
Yeah, that's actually the first concert I ever went to. That was Meatloaf in Oslo during the Bat Out of Hell 2 tour.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. That was very cool. Very happy to have had the pleasure to enjoy
that was
live.
Him in his prime right there.
Yes, indeed it was.
And he wasn't drunk either.
No, not at that time.
That's what I'm saying. So you got a whole show on him.
Yeah.
He didn't pass out halfway through the show.
No, he didn't. Yeah, that was 2 amazing hours.
No, there's several stories about back in the day when Meatloaf would just too much. Like, yeah, they thought he was dead a couple times.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because he'd come off the stage or he'd pass out right on stage and he's just a big thud.
Yeah, they have to like revive him with like oxygen tank and everything like that.
He would pass out and hit his head so many times. He had so many concussions and shit.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess that's a story to tell.
Yeah, that was real rock and roll.
Yeah.
In the part of the song where he says, I remember every little thing as if it happened only yesterday, he's lying because he don't remember shit.
Like it just becomes part of the act after a while.
Exactly.
You're just expecting it like you're expecting a fight at a hockey game.
That was like the Meatloaf story was the first VH1 made for TV movie they did, and it wasn't half bad. Have you guys seen that at all?
Yeah, no. I think I have seen it. It's like the one where you see is that the one where it's like made like a movie where you see like his father is so disappointed by him, they cut ties and everything, and then when they reconnect and he discovers that his father has like all the clippings of his career and everything, right? Is that one? Yeah, okay, yeah, I've seen it. It was really cool.
I mean, it kind of just really buzzes through his life story, but I mean, it's for a TV movie at the time, I was pretty impressed, especially with the casting and of course they had Meatloaf's cooperation, so all the music's there. And I can't remember the actor. It was something a day. Is it Michael a Day, or is that his name? He was in Deadwood and a bunch of other shows. Played Meatloaf, and he did a great job.
Yeah, that does sound familiar. I think it was yeah.
No, somebody's phone's going off.
Yeah, it's not mine because I'm on it.
Well, then it's got to be Rob. Oh no, Rob's muted. This John busted. I'm just picking on you, John. Anyway, I think there's some potential here. Until we hear more about this, that's all we can really say. Let's get into some super chats.
Yes, let's just give me 1 second here to switch over
I was
to
gonna say you
the
could probably switch
computer.
over and see how that's gonna work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Try
That's the
it
plan.
again. But in the meantime, we got a super sticker from Mags. We're always glad to have Mags here. Let me see what that is.
All right, now let's see how
It is
this
a heart.
This
Thank you so much. Oh, so much
Yeah.
better as far as the volume, anyway.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, well, was it too high?
But if you
or too
can,
low
I would
earlier?
turn your phone off or put it on stand, or just like to where the screen's off and stuff, and away from your microphone because it does cause noise.
The phone is far, far away.
Okay, yeah, because before it was like sounding like you were like. It was
fantastic.
Making weird noise.
Yeah. All right. Going back to the super chance. I don't remember exactly where we left off.
I know we did Spider Unlimited one, and then,
the next one after that is Godzillionaire, who said, "Vote Dan Vask for heavy metal remake soundtrack."
And I suggest you guys check out his channel if you haven't. Boy's got a voice. And he does songs about Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and all that kind of shit.
Cool. Yeah, check that out. And then we have Joel Rice, who says remake heavy metal. Oh God, no! Please, no, no. Yeah, I think we got the message.
No, and I'm on board with that. Don't remake it, but I would be fine with live action versions of the stories that were in the movie, but not in today's. Not in today's atmosphere, unfortunately. I'm afraid what they do to it. I think that's kind of what we were all saying.
That's every bit worried. So they need the right people that's going to fight for the right vision. Will they have that? We'll keep you up to date as we find out. Till then, Dash Attack says for $10, thank you so much. Heavy Metal Reboot should be animated in 2D with the original aesthetic of the film. Trippy, sexual, great music. Live action without a Disney budget won't beat the original.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, if they just come out and do animated heavy metal, I'd be all on board. But if they cannot go past the 2D, I don't. If you're going to do it that way, you can't do 3D animation, you can't do live action. Then I'm on board with that. If you're going to leave it in that sense, because then it actually makes it feel like a comic book.
Yeah. And Stephen Otten says, "Greetings, Midnight's Edge, guests, wrenches, and midnighters. Messaging from the road. Hope everyone is safe and healthy." Well, thank you. And if you're driving, Stephen, then make sure that you have to keep your eyes on the road. So,
we're glad you can listen, but just listen.
Yeah. And Hypergiver 2 says, "Got a few band ideas. Manowar, Battle Beast, Beast in Black, Sirith Ungol, Powerwolf, and Iced Earth. Of those, I have heard of Manowar, which I've incidentally also seen in concert. That was also a very cool concert."
Well, we also have to remember,
I trust your recommendations.
The original soundtrack had more than just rock bands on it, though. And I mean, so they had Dio and other stuff on there as well. So, I mean, there is a little room for wiggle, but there's just nothing in modern music that I could see fitting here. It just doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah. And Etienne Falardeau says for $2 Canadian, "Valerian movie is the saddest thing to happen, TBH." You know what? No, Valerian is the saddest casting to happen.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think that the movie is pretty fine. What killed it was the casting. I think that the casting of what's his face as
Dane
Valerian. Yeah, that's the one who was also dreadful as the Green Goblin. I think that his casting as Valerian stands out as one of the single worst casting choices in the history of cinema.
Yeah,
and it ended the movie right there because he was just so dead wrong for the role.
Yeah, it needed to be somebody more like a Henry Cavill type, but not as bright.
Thinking that.
As soon as I moved your other phone thing out, you started getting choppy. I'm bringing it back in.
When Nick stuff works you.
It doesn't make a difference.
Then Merlin's E sent a $20 super sticker of a little hippo. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. And says for $5. They also had Den, something for every. Den was Richard Corbin. Yeah. And Madden ID again says for $5. Thank you so much. And says Hail Midnight's Edge, Glory Hammer, Baton, and Power.
You're gonna have to switch back over.
1 second here.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Sorry, folks. Andre's been having issues this morning. I apologize. John's just sitting here thinking, what kind of rinky-dink operation do they run here?
Yeah, and we're back again. Okay, again, moving on. I just have to move it back and forth. So fun when technology fails you.
Yeah, as anyway, I was just saying, I think you were away for a second there too, John. John, you're probably thinking, what kind of rinky-dink operation do they run here?
Yeah, what's your channel at? Like over 200,000 subscribers?
Yeah, it doesn't show, does it?
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today, but hey, not everyone can be a winner. But moving on.
No one could do.
As we were saying,
that's what you get on a day show. So,
Marilyn's ID said, "Hail Midnight's Edge, Ghost, Glory Hammer, Sabaton, and Powerwolf are all modern metal bands that would fit perfectly with the heavy metal aesthetic. Of those, I'm only familiar with Ghost, but if the other ones are anything like Ghost, yeah, I agree. They would all be good. I mean, yeah, and Mastodon, as I mentioned. So you do have modern day bands today that would fit very well in with the theme, Ghost being the first one. And then Dash D's says for $5 Canadian, need a soundtrack for the movie. There's a cool guy on Mead Radio that rocks. He's kind of weird and doesn't sleep, but knows music and works for Kroner.
I don't know what that is, but I work.
Oh, that's a Norwegian Viking money. So yeah.
And where did it go? I just jumped. Oh, here it is. Richard Greeter, great avatar. Says, I just say release the 40th anniversary Blu-ray. Yes, it needs to be remastered in 4K.
Exactly.
This is the first time Sony.
Blu-ray.
What the fuck? Sony normally, like, this is the one time they've dropped the ball. Every single version of home media they've had in the past, that Columbia has always dropped heavy metal as one of their first titles. Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray. What about 4K? Nothing. Zip, zilch. It's like we should have this already 5 years ago.
How much is that because of Tom Rothman though?
I don't know if that's really his department to worry about.
But he's the president of Sony Film.
No, I know, but like the video always sells well. That's my point. Is like it's always been a major one, like right off the bat. Like that was one of their first DVDs they released.
Tom, I don't understand this cartoon. It's all violent.
Even the Blu-ray they had as a Best Buy exclusive for a few weeks before you could get it in wide release. Like they made a little special deal out of it.
But she's walking around with the thingies out. I mean, Tom, this is not suitable for children.
Yeah, but the kids love it.
Exactly.
And that reminded me of Marty McFly, Back to the Future. But your kids are going to love it.
Exactly. And then moving on with the super chats, Mags sent us a heart super sticker, so thank you for that, Mags. And Mecha J says, there was a sequel called Heavy Metal 2000.
Yes.
Have any of you guys seen that movie?
Yeah, years ago, but and I think I still have a copy of it on DVD somewhere.
Yeah,
that was one I don't think they even released on Blu-ray ever.
No, they haven't. The biggest or highest quality was a Super Bit DVD. That's the highest quality version that it's available in, to the extent of my knowledge, at the very least. I liked that movie. It has some amazing voice cast. I mean, it has Billy Idol first and foremost.
Yeah.
It has Julie Strain as well as her
Michael
image.
Ironside, I think, is
Yeah,
in it.
exactly. Yeah, he's in it too.
No, the only thing that I think that disappointed me by that, or at least took me off guard by Heavy Metal 2, it was just one story. That was my only like really thing. I was like, huh, okay. I guess I was kind of like hoping for, more of like the first film, but
yeah, that's the movie that tells me that like some kind of Netflix deal is the way to go.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
can if you can do a movie like it, but it can't be just one. It has to be several.
No, I agree. No, I totally agree. And again, the possibilities are endless, as we were saying. So
yeah. And then just a couple of more. Bertrand Kurt Russell says, I'm a huge music nerd and metal fan. I really hope they don't mess this up. Indeed. And that 70s rock fan says, regarding the discussion of classic versus modern rock already has its savior, and his name is Tom Connors.
Earthquake and booty shaking.
And since then, we also have Bertrand Kurt Russell, who says, new Blue Oyster Cult song, The Alchemist. Good work. Yeah, I guess it could.
Did they
I'm
have
not
new
familiar
music?
with it,
I
but...
didn't know that. That's cool.
And with that, we're caught up on the Super Chats.
I thought so. Yeah, there was a little other news to talk about, but one thing I wanted to bring up to you, Andre, I was looking for the story here because I can't remember exactly what he signed on to, but He-Man may be busy. Noah Centineo, or however you say his name, signed on to some deal.
Noah Centineo. Oh, he
Yeah.
signed up for something else, even
Yeah.
more things to keep him away from He-Man.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the story now. Yeah, I'm not coming. It got buried in other stuff, evidently.
Oh, and Mike Cat points out, you got to get some Gothminster in too. Yeah, that would be awesome. Gothminster would be great for this.
Or Bat Metal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That would be
a Bat Metal episode.
Yeah, because Bat Metal, that's actually the music from what's it called again? Like this Adult Swim animated series, Metal Apocalypse or something like that. That's where the music is from.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm surprised in all these years Adult Swim hadn't tried to do a heavy metal show. I'm very surprised.
That would seem like
licensing or the rights.
It could be.
Yeah, probably. But again, now heavy metal have created this new wing, which is specifically for dealing with Hollywood and movie productions. With something like that, animated Adult Swim thing is inching even closer. I mean, imagine Genndy Tartakovsky's heavy metal. How awesome would that be?
And there you go. There's other animator directors as well we didn't even think about. But here's the thing for Noah. He is to headline Netflix's espionage series from the Rookie creator. So I don't know how far ahead it is, but...
Cool. I'd much rather have him in that than
it is Netflix, though.
That's actually very, very interesting because you know what that seems like to me? Some kind of like make good arrangement.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking myself. Consolation prize is what I was going to say, but yeah.
Yeah. John, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how big are you on He-Man, and how excited are you for seeing Noah Centineo that we're probably not going to see?
Looks like he's been broken up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I didn't necessarily grow up with He-Man, which is kind of a sin. If I could go back and change that, like if I could talk to younger John, I would say, like, yeah, it's cool that you're watching Ghostbusters and, all this other stuff, but, you should be get a little more G.I. Joe in there, get a little more He-Man. But I was a little, like, I definitely was like more of a sci-fi fantasy kid. Like even when it goes to movies and stuff, like that was the stuff I was watching rather than the real macho, like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these guys. But that's kind of it goes back to the access that I had of movies that I could watch.
as a kid as well. So, but no, I mean, this could be a lot of fun. So, it's just all about execution. I wouldn't say it's all about execution, but obviously you got to start with a good script, stay true to the source material, and execute. And if you do that, good things are probably going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on with He-Man that I know we've been looking into, so I'm sure we'll come back to that another day. But Dash D says, "Oh, brilliant idea! Do heavy metal like Tales from the Crypt, and get Razor Fist to be the keeper of metal." Yeah, Razor Fist would be another person who would be good working on that. Speaking of, I don't want to make any promises, but rumor is we may have Razor Fist coming on Friday, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Speaking of the man himself, but yeah, the other story that was kind of going around before we wrap things up this morning. Did you want to quick plug the member stream, Andre?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to do that tomorrow. I think is what it's going to have to end up being. That way we have like more time. So how's that for you guys?
I haven't talked to Robert yet as far as doing Bond, but yeah, if we don't do Bond, that might work out.
Yeah. So basically,
Or we
watch
can
this
do it in the
space.
morning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the other story we're going to talk about here before we go, this one seems to have been gaining a little bit more traction as the story's gotten out there. But Rob, I know you read this last night on me, but you want to give us the rundown again here on the whole sequel series, reboot series.
Do I have to?
Flintstones? Just the main part of it. You don't have to read the yada yada. Nobody cares bit. Which I don't mean the whole fucking article.
Well, okay. Well, let me just give the summation. My own summation.
Just give us a summation.
Elizabeth Banks is going to be producing and voicing the Pebbles in a new Flintstones animated series called Bedrock, which takes place just as the Stone Age is becoming the Bronze Age, quote unquote. And Fred is getting ready for retirement. And
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
we came up with a couple scenarios as to how they could make this go woke easily, and with Elizabeth Banks involved, chances are pretty good.
Yeah, that's like the first step. Get Elizabeth Banks, then you're halfway there in terms of going woke. John, did you see Charlie's Angels, and what did you think about that? And so, if so, and the whole conversation surrounding the movie, how men were evil for not seeing it.
I saw the trailer and that was enough for me. That was about as much as I've seen of that movie. I have absolutely no interest. I mean, she again, that's that like Charlie's Angels. What is, you go back to the television show, and the reason why I think the one with what was it, Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz was so successful is Lucy Liu. I mean, they kept it sexy, right?
Oh yeah.
And look, you can't have Charlie's Angels without that element.
That's part of the appeal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're smart, sexy women that can handle themselves, and they're not afraid to use their guiles to their advantage.
But Tom, I want to see myself on screen.
I don't want to watch Mario all day, every day, Rob.
What? You don't want to see me, Mario?
I thought that there might be a coin in the bricks. No, Luigi, don't do it. Oh, shit. Hey, Fred, I'm hearing the ladies can do stuff now.
Well, Vaughn, they always can do stuff, but they're going to break the stone ceiling.
Oh, that's going to hurt their head, Fred. No, and the other thing we thought is, okay, what they're going to end up doing is, since they're going into the Bronze Age, they'll probably introduce human beings, and the Neanderthals will be the cavemen. So then they can make the Flintstones a minority, so then you can have, Pebbles out there, for Cro-Magnon rights and caveman lives matter and all that.
Pebbles told me to check my white privilege.
Hey, I think I ran out, Fred.
And as for me, I think they can do it even simpler as that. Like you enter a new age, and then it's time that that Fred Flintstones, who is about to retire, he has to cough up to his own sins and check his privilege and apologize for his entire toxic life, because now we're entering a new age. The age of Pebbles, led by Elizabeth Banks Pebbles and the values that she promotes. That's my worry. That's the direction they're going to go.
Yeah, that's what we were also saying. The other direction is a bad All in the Family ripoff, which would be that, basically.
Pebbles, I'm sorry I had drank cactus juice all those years.
Well, you're probably right, Andre, on the latter, because let's be real. They're going to really use the idea that Fred is a caveman.
For all it's worth.
And exactly.
Yeah. And especially since then they go into the Bronze Age, and now we take distance from the horrible, horrible misogyny of the past. And that's like the direction that I'm afraid that they're going in.
But listen, I know it's a cartoon. I know you have to suspend your disbelief. But the Bronze Age started 3300 BC. I'm like, there were no dinosaurs back then.
What are they going to do with that?
Yeah, well, not that there were really any dinosaurs technically living still when man. I mean, of course, there's people who will debate that whole thing, but anyway, beyond that, there's just way too much time between the caveman era and the Bronze Age, and what we see in the world of the Flintstones, and what the whole joke is.
About 64 million years, according to the latest science. But
yeah,
it's not like it happened overnight.
No, exactly. Go ahead, John.
Well, it's just like it's not like it happened overnight, or probably even within one generation span of human beings, right? I mean, going into a whole age that lasts thousands of years. I mean, I don't, it is an animated series, and of course, I mean, I don't find that to be probably the major problem with it, but they're using it as a tool, right? To things are changing. There's a revolution happening, and they're gonna, of course, inject all of the political wokeness they can with that.
Yeah,
no, and you're right, John. It's basically the equivalent of trying to build a house with a can opener. You're trying to do something with something that doesn't do that. That's not what it's built for. Like the Flintstones was built for one thing. It's a parody of the Honeymooners. And as we brought up last night, the whole joke is you take modernisms and you say, okay, well, what would the twist be in the Stone Age? That's the whole joke.
Right.
Basically, and you could have fun with that, like we were talking last night, like especially like we couldn't believe they didn't go with, here you go, Rob, thanks for bringing it up, the whole Seth MacFarlane idea, because he's somebody like that who has the mentality to say, look at something and could look at a cell phone, look at a tablet, look at a laptop, and find a way to make fun of that in the world of the Flintstones, and it still be funny and it still be relevant and it still work, because that's the great thing about the Flintstones is they're evergreen in that sense. Like you can just modernize it in their world.
It's at its core, it's a family sitcom. I mean, yeah. I mean, nothing really. Listen,
your picture's not coming up, Rob.
Well, just give it a minute here. I'm just I'll have to vamp while I do. But the whole thing is, listen, there's a reason why throughout the years the formula has stayed the same. Whether it's the Flintstones, whether it's Leave It to Beaver, whether it's Family Ties, whether it's Growing Pains, whether it's Cosby, whether it's Full House, or whatever. The family sitcom. People want to see the family sitcom. Whether whether they're like the Tanners or whoever living on or living in San Francisco, or whether they're a modern Stone Age family living in Bedrock. People want to see the family sitcom. And they don't want to be preached to. They want something they can relate to on a day-to-day basis. They want to see what happens when the dog runs away. They want to see what happens when the son comes home with a bad report card and tries to hide it. Okay?
His name's Dino. He's not a dog. He's a dinosaur.
I know. Work with me here. I got nothing to work with here, people. Nothing to work here. Nothing to work with.
Well, no.
Rob's right, though. I mean, I think there's something cathartic about the family sitcom in that, a problem is presented, but by the end, everything wraps up and they live happily ever after. And people want to see that. Like it's, you know, I mean, as much as I hate predictability sometimes, especially with film more so, but that is what the family sitcom is all about, you know, and it's kind of like a model for families, right? Like how, you know, in an ideal world, you know, I don't know if it's very good for us to compare like our, you know, a real world to that. But like that is what we, you know, I think as kids, you watching that, we dreamed of living in a family like that, like an ideal family where, sure, not everything's perfect, things happen, but you know, they work through it, and again, for the most part, everybody lives happily ever after. And you know, and we need positive stuff like that. We don't need to be preached at on a regular basis on how you know, you're a terrible person because of your gender or your race or your sex or whatever.
Or if you're a caveman.
Well, Mags, it's not that Hollywood hates the family. I think you have a lot of people who grew up in an age where divorce was normalized and where yet you had the family unit being broken apart. Now, that's not through any fault of their own. Things happen. Relationships fail. We all know that. Okay. But they took that as being the norm rather than being the exception.
Well, I have to disagree a little bit with you, Rob, because there is a concerted effort of sorts to really diminutize, or whatever the word is, the family structure, because it's problematic, because it holds up all the ideals that they render as problematic and wrong. So I think she's onto something there to a point.
Well, but the other thing too is one of the first inklings I got of it was, and for all the talk about the Wonder Years reboot, this was actually something that actually they dealt with in the Wonder Years, where Kevin was at the annual like family barbecue or the family block party or whatever it is, and there was a family, and I can't remember which couple it was, but the wife was standing on one side of the yard. The dad was staying over by the grill on the other side of the yard, and they all were looking down. They were all very depressed, and he put two and two together. I'm like, oh my God, my friend's parents are getting divorced. I'm like, this, you know, I'm from a normal family. I'm from a stable family. I'm like, this is horrible. And that to me is a more realistic portrayal of what happens in a family and how you deal with it. I'm like, yes, it's a sad thing. I'm like, but it shouldn't be. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but they've taken it and it's like, no big deal. I'm like, no, it is a big deal. The family's going to be left in tatters. I'm like, and Hollywood now has gotten to the point where, you know what, divorce, no big deal. I'm like, yeah, for you looking on the outside, but to them, it is. Rick and Morty actually dealt with their divorce and separation actually pretty good in a pretty good way. But the whole thing is, like you said, and for the people who don't have that strong family unit, they want to see the idealized family, whether it's Cosby, whether it's the Flintstones, whether it's the Seavers, whomever. And there's too many people that feel, but the other problem is, take a look. What's the other problem here with the Flintstones, guys? Take a look at the characters. They're not diverse enough.
Well, yeah, we brought that up earlier as well. But like,
oh my God, all the cavemen were white. Oh my God, that's problematic.
I still feel like you're missing a little bit. I mean, you're not wrong, Rob, but a lot of that we went through, or at least Hollywood went through in the 80s and 90s. They're way past that now. Like, again, it's beyond just the diversity aspect of it. It's about making sure everybody's sexuality is not straight. So you're probably right about the divorce part. The Flintstones, it's probably going to start with Fred and Wilma getting a divorce, but it's going to be because Wilma went lesbo. That's why.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, Betty and Wilma were scissoring on the side. I mean, yeah. But the other scissoring. Wilma, I told you that time we had the foursome with Betty and Barney. That was a one-time thing.
You think Elizabeth Banks is going to show that on screen?
No, because it's bad to show straight sex, but it's okay if Wilma and Betty get it on.
I think it's okay if they just allude to it. I mean, this is like one of the things where Star Trek Discovery really failed the most.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. I was watching, of all things, believe it or not, I was watching the Punky Brewster reboot, which actually wasn't half bad. Another family sitcom. They're a bit of an unusual family.
The trailer looked fine until it had what's his ass in it.
Freddie Prinze?
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, he wasn't too bad in it. He wasn't too bad. I was watching this, and they actually dealt with all these things in the right way. The son, the adopted son, everybody was adopted, so okay, that explains the diversity. Okay, but there was son wanted to wear a skirt to school, and like, oh well, is he binary? Is he not? Is he trans? And they finally just said, hey, he's too young for this. Okay, let him figure it out on his own. That's all. When he wants help from us, he'll come to us. I'm like, you know what? That's the way you fucking deal with this shit. Okay, it turned out later on he got his ass kicked, but in school, and his brother had to defend him, and that's another way you deal with it. But they showed like, hey, listen, not everybody's gonna be accepting of this. You're gonna have to deal with that.
Hang on, I gotta write this down. Rob watches Punky Brewster.
I was meant okay. Listen, yeah, but hey, listen. You know what? It's late at night. You're flipping through. You're going through the internet.
No. This is good stuff. I'll use it later.
Just like quicksand porn, you know.
Filed for future reference.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, Soleil Moonfry was hot.
No, you know, in all honesty though, like I was honest. Like the trailer didn't look half bad until Freddie Prinze popped up.
But the other thing too is they dealt with divorce in a very kind of real way. I'm like, yeah, you know, it was terrible. We had to break the family up, but at the same time, you know, the dad was still in the picture. He wasn't this often, and he was still involved with the kids' lives. I mean, but if you're gonna deal with these issues, everything is so fucking heavy-handed with these Hollywood types. I'm like, no, this is how you deal with it. Dad is still around. Dad still cares about the kids. He's not a selfish prick in that aspect.
No, they didn't do that for the Mighty Ducks. No, they had to have the dad be the asshole. But anyway, Bud Boy Productions is a first-time super chatter. Well, hail. Says hail.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Sending in two. That's pounds, right?
That would be British pounds, yes.
Yes, indeed.
When you see
Thank you so much.
When you see the weird L, when you see the funny looking L like that, you know, with the slash through it, that's British pounds.
I know. I keep trying to remember that, and then the euros is the one that kind of looks like an E with two.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much stuff to keep track of.
Euros like Epiphone guitars, like that.
Yeah. So again, kind of going back to the same thing we were saying with heavy metal, the thing with Flintstones, the possibilities are endless, but Hollywood will end those possibilities.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And also Darius Münchhausen says in the chat, at least Elizabeth Banks isn't directing it. No, but she is executive producing, I believe. Is that what it said?
Yeah. Actually, you know
Which is worse than directing, because again, like it doesn't really matter who directs an animated series. That's probably whoever is like the animation director in Korea or wherever it's been outsourced to. But being an executive producer on it, she can get her vision in there in other insidious ways. Yeah. And especially since they bring her up front and center, that kind of like says everything. She made it very well known where she stood in conjunction with that whole Charlie's Angels thing. And still, I just have to point out, I think it's so fun. More women went to see Rambo: Last Blood than went to see the Charlie's Angels reboot. Yet it was the men's fault.
Yeah. And a manga fan, Flintstones shouldn't have any realism. No, we're not talking about realism, but it shouldn't make you stop dead in your tracks and say, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. It makes you have to buy into the idea. Listen, for all the people who complain about why are the Simpsons still on the air? Why is Family Guy still on the air? Why is American Dad still on the air? Tom, what did we just get through saying?
It's evergreen.
It's evergreen. People want to see family sitcoms.
Well, not just that in animation. It's easy because nobody ages.
Yeah, but still, like I said, nobody. You don't look at Peter Griffin and say, "Damn, he got old."
No, because and Homer should be 50 by now, but yeah.
Well, it should be 60s or 70s,
60 or whatever. Yeah,
but like I said,
Bart's my age, so there you go.
But like I said, though, the family sitcom is universal. The family sitcom works, and taking that and taking a hammer to it is that I find problematic. Because, like I said, whether you're the Simpsons, whether you're the Griffins, whether you're the Cosbys, people want to see the family sitcom. They want to see strong family units. They want a family that even the fucking Addams family, for God's sakes, you know how cool that family would have been?
kind of like disturbing, but still cool.
No, but they'd kill for each other, or they'd kill each other.
Yeah.
And also, Mags agrees with you, Rob. It's just hostile today.
Yeah, I understand because you have people in Hollywood in control who are making these decisions, and they are hostile. Oh, my family's life sucked. Well, everybody else's family life probably sucked too.
Yeah.
Well,
John,
not just that, but there is something to what I was saying as well, and I think that's
a
little scary. And John, you talk a lot about that kind of stuff on your channel.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, John, I want to hear your thoughts on this. As soon as we said, like, Dora won, he has this to say: yabba dabba don't, and he wants to see a koala in the rain. And we'll get to that before long. But before then, John, you must have some thoughts on this.
I mean, on the Flintstones, right? Or
between the Flintstones and the other stuff, if you'd like to.
Like the Flintstones and what they may very well may be doing to the Simpsons. Simpsons, I meant the Flintstones.
Get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm too toxic for that.
Yeah, well, again, you see these recurring themes. They're going back to something that at one point worked, right? Because they don't have any originality. So that seems to be a recurring theme in Hollywood. And and of course, as we said before, as I alluded to, it's like, yeah, they're gonna, odds are they're gonna put their modern woke spin on it. So, I mean, I'm just not interested whatsoever. I'm sure a lot of people who I don't know if there is, even when you think about cartoons, the way we as kids digested cartoons, how they were, you had, I probably had like 6 or 7 channels growing up. I didn't have cable or anything. So, you had your morning cartoons. I don't know if like kids seem to have, they've got a whole cartoon channel. They got Cartoon Network. They've got
you got like 6 of them now almost. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they've got, there's 100 other channels out there
and
too.
Disney Channel and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if kids digest cartoons like we did back then, or if they're
they don't. I assure you they don't, because now you have a completely different brand of cartoon than we did. I'm not going to say that it's better, but it is. I think it's like more insidious in a way. It's like more. They've made it more addictive with like the content and the engagement and more video game like and more colors and of course extremely bland and propagandistic. That too, of course, is all shares an agenda.
I think another part of what you're getting to, John, is when we didn't have access to cartoons 24/7. Now, not just because of cable networks and Netflix and streaming, it's 24/7. Kids have access to this stuff all the time. Like they can constantly binge on SpongeBob or whatever the latest. I don't know what kids are into anyway.
Well, that depends on their age. But SpongeBob is a classic. That's like old school by now.
Well, I just threw it out there because it's the first one I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be one of those cartoons that stands out for, recently that.
Well, it's been around for like 25 years now, but yeah.
That's hard to believe in itself. But, the cartoons I grew up with, especially in the morning before school, there was like Dennis the Menace. That seemed to be one of them. But, you had your certain cartoons, and then there was Saturday morning cartoons,
right?
Like Looney Tunes and, whatever else was on in the morning. And that was almost like a ritual. You get your bowl of cereal or whatever. As a kid, you roll out of bed and, you just turn on the TV and watch cartoons. At least that was my experience. So I just don't know too. Like, are kids going to be really giving a crap about Flintstones?
No, probably not.
They've never heard about, so it's going to have to be reintroduced to kids today, and they can probably do that because I assure you, it's going to be a very different animation style than the Simpsons that we and our parents and grandparents will remember. So it'll have to be reintroduced. That's kind of like the hope that it may fail in the reintroduction, which honestly it wouldn't surprise me.
Like I said, we always ask this question, who is this for? It's certainly not for kids. It's certainly, as you said, Andre, the kids today, they don't give a crap about the Flintstones. It's not going to be for, Generation Zoom or Generation whatever it is. They think the Flintstones is passe. We're at least 2 generations removed from like the Flintstones being really mainstream, aren't we?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because like I remember even when I was a kid, even then Flintstones was for old people.
Well, the movie with John Goodman was completely built on the nostalgia for the previous generation. Let's be real.
Even that was
exactly.
Yeah, even that was 25 years ago.
Exactly my point. So yeah, you're right, completely on that. It's past its due date as far as this current generation, and the people they're going to be making this show for. Rob, you're also right that they're not going to be interested in it, and the people who would be like us, they're not going to be making it for.
The only thing I see this is that somebody, like, say if I had kids or grandkids or whatever, I would sit them down like, this is the Flintstones. Like I always say about, I wish I had a son or daughter to take to see Captain America. I used to read Captain America comics when I was your age. Really? They had comics back when you were my age? I'm like, yeah, except they used to, carve them onto stone tablets, and we used to just hand them around the cave by the fire. Geez, I'm like, come on. But anyway, that's the only way I see this appealing to the younger generation, if this becomes a family thing. And most people are going to be turned off if this gets too preachy. They're going to be turned off immediately.
Yeah, the Flintstones came out, I looked it up, September 30th, 1960.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty far back. Yeah. And so, if you're going to reintroduce this, are you going to, and I watched, I used to watch the Flintstones, and certainly I was for, everybody's around our age is familiar with the theme song, but yeah, this is just way too far removed. And then if you're going to change it up and try to modernize it, it's way past its selling date or due date or whatever.
I remember actually somebody had said come up with some.
Dare I say it's extinct?
Yeah. Somebody actually came up with some theory about the Flintstones and like them actually being taken place in the future after a nuclear war. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't work because this shows you what I know. They actually have an episode where they went to the 1965 World's Fair in the future. They traveled through time, and the World's Fair is in New York. And I always take note of that because whenever I drive out to the Citi Field or go to pick up somebody at Kennedy, you see the Unisphere from the World's Fairgrounds. And they actually do make some. It actually holds up pretty well today. But they do make some dated references. There is actually a couple references to the Beatles, and Margaret is a co-star. People aren't going to know who that is. But I don't see how you update this without destroying it. I really don't. I honest to God, I don't see, because as it's evergreen, as we keep saying.
We got another problem here. I think they may be right about the whole future with, the post-apocalyptic thing, because it's the world of the Jetsons, but it is the future. It's after they killed all the black people. There's going to be the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Because as I go and I make the joke, name the Black Flintstone character. You can't, because there ain't one. Name the Black Jetsons character. You can't, because there ain't one. That's going to be a problem for these folks.
They even did a James Bond parody, Jay Bundrock.
Like, yeah, I'll be real. Like, this show was never diverse, and it's a problem for the show. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but nobody cared. Nobody cared.
Nobody noticed or cared back then per se, but there are plenty of jokes that have come out of it over the years. It's not like people haven't noticed since then. So again, I reiterate that I feel like is going to be one of the main focal points, and it may not be bad necessarily, but it's just the point. Like, yeah, they're going to make that a point because
there was actually
no diversity in it.
There was actually an couple Elvis jokes on one episode where, remember when Fred was Hi-Fi? He was the world's oldest teenager. He was a rock star. He was, I had never seen anything like this. Hi-Fi should have burned out a long time ago. Last time I saw something like this was a fella from Memphis, had long sideburns, So, they like, there are some data references, but like you said, it's evergreen. But the fact that it's not quote unquote diverse enough, that's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to diverse it up.
And I don't have a problem with that per se, as long as they don't make a big deal out of it. That's my point. Is that's where I feel like this is probably going to end up going to is, I was making a tongue-in-cheek joke, but I was being serious. Like, we would just be like, whatever, just put some black characters in there, put some Hispanic characters in there. Nobody's going to give a shit or pay attention to that part normally. They wouldn't even notice. But now what they'll do is they'll call attention to it, I bet. Is that they'll use it in the sense like Andre was saying of, the whole idea of being a caveman like Fred Flintstone is out of date because they even segregated themselves. They'll probably make that part of the fucking show.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, because this one is going to go heavy on the woke politics, I think. Because if it wasn't, why have Elizabeth Banks? Why have her first and center? And face it, that's since Spider-Man, that's the only thing that she's known for is woke it on the looks.
Yeah, and Fragoff brings up, and a few other people did. Yeah, Halle Berry was in the movie. I guarantee you she was one of the stars for a reason. Because Flintstones was so white then.
Yeah. I'm looking at Rosie O'Donnell. I forgot she was in this movie.
Unfortunately, everybody tried to poke their brains and forget she was in that damn movie. I love the movie. She's the worst part.
I think Elizabeth Taylor was in it too.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, she was.
As Wilma's mother or something like that.
Yes,
right?
she was.
Yeah, I totally forgot, man. This
the
movie
is actually pretty good. It's just Rosie O'Donnell was so miscast as Betty. It was just like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember, I don't remember much from the movie, but one of the things that I remember was seeing her in it and thinking, what the hell?
The movie's basically an elongated episode of the TV show.
Yeah,
it really is. They captured it perfectly in live action. It just, again, the only problem with the movie was Rosie O'Donnell. That was it. And I didn't even hate her then. It was just that she was miscast. That was all it was. It's like, why did you cast her as Betty? I don't see it. Yeah, Rick Moranis was perfect as Barney. John Goodman had no choice to play Fred, and I don't even say that with any facetiousness because Steven Spielberg just walked up to him and said, hey, by the way, you're going to play Fred Flintstone for me. He goes, I am? He's like, yeah, you are. I'm making a Flintstones movie, and you'd be perfect for Fred.
Was he a producer on that?
Yeah.
Spielberg?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now another Hanna-Barbera property, actually, I always keep saying is Johnny Quest. They've been trying to bring that back for God knows how long.
Why? Okay, I'll keep my feelings on it.
Oh
close.
God, let's not even dream about what they do to Johnny Quest now.
Well, the running joke was that the first gay couple raising a child on television was
my point.
Was Benton Quest and Race Bannon. I'm like, well, there you go. That's the first change you can see them making. But the other thing too is, hey, you want diversity? There you go. Johnny Quest was doing it back in the 60s. Haji, there was no other Indian representation on television.
Not really, not until Apu. Oh, yeah, then that happened.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mags, leave Johnny Quest alone. You can't see it back. I have a Johnny Quest poster on my wall back here.
It'll be Johnny Queer now, or LGBTQ. But anyway.
Johnny Quest. One of the best moments I remember. This was like I said, young kid, still figuring things out. They replaced Race Bannon with a
doppelganger. How you say that there, Rob?
Well, anyway, they replaced Race Bannon with an imposter.
Experimenting.
Well, yeah, they replaced Race Bannon with an imposter, and Race's on again, off again, love interest. Jade showed up and says, "Oh, it's you, Jade," and it's just well, Race, aren't you going to kiss me goodnight? And she kisses Race goodnight, and she says to Haji and Johnny, "Boys, that's not Race Bannon. How do you know? There's just certain things a woman knows."
Took a long time to get there, Rob.
Yeah, but it was great moments, though. It was great.
But I know we do have a couple of super chats that we missed in between our conversation there. Andre, the one I can bring up on screen is the DCB Titan while you're getting the other ones together. It says, "Oh, goody, CalArts Flintstones. Is it too much to hope that this ends up filed next to High Guardian Spice and never get aired?" Oh, we can hope. We can definitely hope. All right. What do you got for us, Andre? I know we missed the chat there.
Yes, I've got some real doozies here. Dash D's says, "Oh, brilliant idea! Too heavy metal like the Tales of Razor Fist." Yeah, we got that one. And then we have Madeline's id, not ID, but id. And here's a real doozy. Thanks for keeping me company while I drive around delivering pig sperm. P.S. It's pronounced id, not ID. So yeah, well, I guess someone has to drive around to deliver that as well, and well, we're glad to keep you company. Dash D's also says 2 words: paracord. Rob and Tom know what I mean. I hope so, because I have no clue.
I think that was after you left the show last night. Yeah.
And Cesario JPN says Fred and Bonnie are taken to task for shelling cigarettes by Pebbles. Yeah, that's a classic commercial. The Flintstones cigarette commercial.
Bonnie, nothing tastes as good as Winston cigarettes.
I'll tell you, Andre, there's also like a corporate film that they did for Busch Beer back in the 60s where Fred and Barney are running a bar.
Commercials were awesome back in the 60s and before. They really were. There's nothing else to say about
this is like a 4.5 minute film, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool shit on the Blu-rays that they dug up.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I got to go with the whole pig sperm thing. Is that like an everyday job, or is this just like you're like this is like today my load is pig sperm, tomorrow it'll be newspapers? Like I'm curious. Just
yeah, do let us know in the comments.
That's an odd job. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but again, the most important thing is to
it's not the worst part of that job, though.
No, as long as like delivering it is one thing. If you get to do it in a truck, there's another kind of delivery that someone else is going to have to do later. But that's a completely different story.
You didn't have to get into the whole gist of it. I think the joke worked for itself, but sure.
The gist of it. Oops.
The gist of it. Yes.
And John is still wondering, what the hell did I get in on?
No, yeah. The one morning we have very little to discuss. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and we have tech issues. So, yeah.
Any other day, it's just flying. People are throwing shit. We got people fighting. We like the Uche Mr. H thing started here.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is the most calmest show we've ever had. Outside of Andre's internet screwing up, that's like been the thing that's been like the most eventful.
Yeah, that's like the biggest wrench into the machinery right there. Not the good kind of wrench like the ones in the chat, but the wrench in the machinery kind of wrench. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. Straight White Mage says Elizabeth Banks should voice Schlep Rock, since wokeness breaks everything it touches. And then we have Master Clockwork saying, the worst thing cartoons in the 80s tried to sell you was toys. Sure, they got a bit woke in the 90s, but it was still all about the merch. And Mags says, funny story. My brothers and I grew up on black and white movies, old shows, etc. My oldest brother was a kid. Asked my parents if their world was black and white before color TV. They love telling that story. We have a couple of more, but let's save them for a little bit later, because I have to charge the mobile before it dies on me. So,
right. So you're gonna switch over here?
What? No, I didn't say that. I said I'll continue. Well, yeah, I'll try to switch over. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So while Andre is doing that, do check out John Talks, as we got Nina sharing your link here in the chat, among others. So
thank you.
Yeah,
thanks, Nina. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Can you understand what I'm saying now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yep. Fantastic. Maybe the issues have resolved themselves all on their own. One can hope.
Don't even talk about it. That's when you jinx it.
Yeah. Then moving on with the super chat, Rob Altus said, "Here's an idea: make new characters and a new show." And yeah, but where's the fun in that? And Cesario JPN says the Quartz family were black in Flintstones Kids. Well, there you
but
go.
that was Flintstones Kids, and that came out in the 80s. Again, that was probably a very conscious decision made. And again, I'm not trying to say like Hanna-Barbera are racist. They probably were. I don't know. But I'm just kidding.
Trying to think, what were their other shows that they had out?
Not many with diversity outside of Johnny Quest. You had the Scooby-Doo gang, pretty white. Jabberjaw, pretty white.
Was it Yogi Bear?
There wasn't there one of the Josie and the Pussycat? I think one of those girls was black, wasn't she? So there you go. There's a little diversity there.
Yeah, but I'm sure that they're going to find some way of saying that was horrible too, because that was, what's the word, fetishizing.
Yeah, like Maharo, or how do you say that? Just a little racist. Just
I'm sure that's going to play right into Elizabeth Banks' Flintstones by look, there's no black people, like this is the Stone Age. Now we're in the Bronze Age. You need to do better.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is, like, if you think about it, this could be a concept for a brand new show, right? Apart from Flintstones, like the idea of moving into a different era or age, right? So. I don't understand. I mean, I understand totally why they're going to use Flintstones, because it's a familiar IP that people know of. But again, it's just like, why not just create something altogether original? And, to me, that's just what makes more sense. And then you got a little bit more freedom, and, you can have some more originality within it. Again, I'm saying with the idea of, like, hopefully they're not going woke, but it's just the idea of, like, how do people transition from one time, what happens when change comes, right? And how do you deal with it would be like the theme of the show.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, now you bring that up, John, that's a brilliant idea. If you really want to go into that, and that's what we keep saying, is like, you can tell these kind of stories or do this kind of, woke storytelling you want to do, but do it in your own thing. There's a great avenue of doing that. Like you just said, like the societal change from one to the other. So what if it's a Flintstones like show? Don't do it to the Flintstones. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
I agree with you 110% on that.
Yeah. I because at this point it's like, they're always going for something they feel like is a guarantee, right? Like if we use a familiar IP, then, well, it's supposedly guaranteed money in the bank, but we've seen this time after time where they have tried to milk these franchises, and it winds up just falling flat because they don't understand them in the first place. And so, and of course they're injecting their identity politics and politics within it, and it totally kills it. But there's just this, at this point, you might as well take this idea of create something similar to the Flintstones, but definitely something different in all its own, and, implement your idea rather than, because I just don't think the Flintstones really fits what they're trying to do, the whole idea of it, which is what we've been saying.
No, absolutely, man. I agree with you 110%. And I think you're onto something too, in the sense that, like, look, that's something we always say, is like, you're trying to appeal to the wrong audience as it is, because the kids nowadays, they say, oh, Star Wars, that's my dad's shit. G.I. Joe, that's my dad's shit. Transformers, that's my dad's shit. Flintstones, that's my grandpa's shit.
Right.
If not your great grandpa's shit.
Right.
So again, you're 110% correct. They're going at the wrong angle of trying to appeal to this young audience. The last thing you want to do is go for your great grandpa's shit and try and, present it to them and say, here you go, this is new. No, like you just said, do it as Anna Manga fan says here, inspired by the Flintstones. We know what that means. The kids don't give a shit.
Right.
And they give about as much shit as they would with the name the Flintstones on it. You're 110% correct. And that's the biggest problem we have in Hollywood as well, is because it used to be that doing remakes And they used to hide that. They used to try and hide that it was a remake. They hated doing sequels because they were embarrassing, because they knew exactly what they were. They knew they were going to guarantee at least a half or so of whatever the first movie took. And they would even hide the numerical side of things, because that's why they did the Roman numerals on a lot of those movies, because so that people wouldn't pay attention to what number it was.
Right.
To the point where they actually started taking the numbers off altogether. But now it's all about that. It's all about the franchise, all about the IP. Like you just said, John, it's what can we, use to sell this with? It's like, instead of just creating their own original idea or doing something like you just said, inspired by the Flintstones. Again, I agree with you 110%. That's the biggest problem we have right now in Hollywood. And in general, is that they just don't understand the entertainment, like you just said. And at the other side, they're using it for nefarious means. And even though back in the 80s, yeah, sure, all those cartoons, that's all they were 30-minute commercials. We knew that. That was the thing. It was like it was no unsaid, like, kind of secret. You know what I mean? We knew.
Yeah.
But this is more insidious.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think about George Lucas, do you think George Lucas actually what's funny about Lucas is when he originally, I think he had the idea of doing a remake of Flash Gordon, and the studios turned him down. At least this is what I've heard.
Well, he couldn't get the rights. Yeah.
So what's he forced to do? He's forced to create his own thing that becomes the biggest, he made
his own with Blackjack and Hookers. Exactly.
So it's like, I mean, take a page out of Lucas's book. You're just better off creating something, original and all its own.
Even Indiana Jones came out of the inspiration of wanting to do a Bond film almost, and a film like the classic adventure serials. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, John. My bad.
No. That's another perfect example. So it's like, imagine if Lucas did get his way. Like, we probably wouldn't even think of George Lucas like we do now if he wound up remaking a Flash Gordon, which probably would have been outdated at that point, because kids at that point, I don't know. It's like, was there going to be like this big market for Flash Gordon? Probably not. No. But Star Wars was like right on the money in terms of like where you wanted to be called. Like, it just was like the perfect timing. It was a culmination of so much going on where it's like, audiences were just ready for that kind of film. And I mean, we just need more originality in Hollywood, period.
No, I think you're right. If he would have done Flash Gordon, knowing Lucas the way he is, he would have done it so meticulously close to the original that it wouldn't have resonated with anybody but those who like were really into the original, which would have been older people.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, the space race stuff was over with. Sci-fi was on the way out. In fact, like, that was another reason why nobody wanted to touch Star Wars with a 10-foot pole. Like, because space movies just ain't been doing shit at that point. Like, nobody had even, like, that was the 60s. Like, we were done doing laser beams and fucking spaceships. We're moving on, like,
yep.
Yeah, at that point, Star Wars shouldn't have been anything but a flash in the pan. Like he said, it would have been lucky to make its money back and get out of theaters quickly, and make its money in that few weeks that it would be lucky enough to play. He never nobody expected, not a single person expected. Well, Steven Spielberg claims, but he's probably full of shit. But then again, I don't know. He is kind of like a Nostradamus of sorts in that sense. But no, like, you're totally
long
right.
enough time he is. You just have to make sure time scale is long enough.
Yeah.
Because many of his predictions have more untrue because they turn around and be true again. So yeah. But yeah, no, you're completely right. I agree absolutely. Because here's like the thing, that had Lucas made Flash Gordon, like, all of that stuff would kind of have been wasted, because his Flash Gordon would just have been another 70s remake. It would have stood right next to the King Kong remake, which it wasn't that far away from. It would be like that. You'd had a King Kong remake. You'd have the Flash Gordon remake. So the whole thing would just be like, oh, in the 70s they remade stuff from the 30s. That's kind of like what it would look like. Instead, by going original, he made something that has stood the test of times and as far outdid Flash Gordon ever did. So there's that, and that's also the thing that's guaranteed here. That this thing here, this reboot of the Flintstones, is going to annoy. It's going to have many people praising it as the best things ever, but honestly, I don't think it's going to stand out so much because it's just another remake, and very remakes or continuations, what have actually the test of time. Have the original or the famous adaptation. That's the one. That's going to stick. In the case of the Flintstones, I don't think it's very likely that this is going to usurp of the one. So then, for years, then this
You're
thing is
cutting
going to
out
be
again.
forgotten. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, a remake is gonna be.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, guys. Andre's internet's taking a shit again. You might want to. I don't know if you can flip back over to the phone or not.
Yeah, sure.
No, but I think he made some really good points too. It's
Well, we could understand.
yeah, or a little bit earlier. It's like remakes. I don't know. I'm trying to can you think of a remake that actually outdid its predecessor?
Outside of that small patch in the 80s, no, not really. The only ones I can think of would be like Scarface thing. And even that had to become a cult classic. It wasn't at the time. It flopped at the time. And then what else? The Fly was interesting.
Cronenberg, yeah.
True Grit is the only other good one.
True Grit wasn't bad. Yeah, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and then of course there's the Wizard of Oz, because the one that we remember today is the fifth one in the line. There was like a time when they would make a new one every single year.
Well, we could have a whole conversation about what's a readaptation, what's a remake, all that kind of stuff too. But like in the
point is, typically just one sticks, and everyone else, they tend to be like forgotten. And sometimes you have a later one that takes over the position of the first one. Such was the case with Battlestar Galactica. But generally, if you go with another adaptation of something that was done before, unless you can massively exceed upon it in every single way, chances are it's going to be forgotten. It's going to be just yet another adaptation on the Wikipedia page in time. And that's what I think this one is going to be.
Yeah, and the other thing I like is like Graham Robbins brings up the Magnificent Seven. Those are the kind of remakes I actually like, where they take a story from another genre, or in this case, another country, and both genre and country, and do their own thing with it. And you can even look at Star Wars that way, because it took a lot of inspiration from Hidden Fortress.
Yeah.
So like I love it when they do that kind of stuff. Like those kind of remakes, I don't mind in the least.
Sure.
Like, I mean, you can even look at John Wick is really just basically a remake of all the Bruce Lee movies, really, if you stop and look at it in a way, because Bruce Lee movies all kind of have the same storyline. So it's all kind of the same, Bad thing happens, Bruce Lee shows up to kick everybody's ass.
That's a John Wick movie right there.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Don't mess with the puppy. Don't mess with the girl. You're fine. But once you do those things, you're dead.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the John Wick films. But it works, I mean, if it's proven, like that's the thing too. If it's proven overseas, and if it works there, it'll work here. The Departed, Scorsese did that, and that worked great. And so that's different, I think, when you're remaking something that has been done in a different language, in a different setting and stuff, and you put your own, you're putting your own little spin on it too.
Yeah. Well, and there was this French film wave, like Christian Garcia brings up True Lies. I think that everything from The Birdcage to Three Men and a Baby, and for a while, like they're just like any French movie they made, we had an American version of, and it was a hit. So it was like, it works.
You had some Norwegian remakes too. They just generally weren't all that good. Apart from the Christopher Nolan one, that wasn't half bad.
Oh, Insomnia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
now you bringing that up. Yeah, I think I remember a lot of people were saying that his version was a little bit better.
Yeah.
One of the rare occasions where that would be the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, once in a while you will have something, and that's the thing. A good remake or readaptation or something like that generally takes an idea or a concept and it elevates it and takes it in a different direction. I mean, like Scarface took the typical, Al Capone gangster kind of story and brought it into the modern age in especially in the middle of the cocaine era, and mixed in, the whole controversy of all the immigration and all that kind of stuff. And, it did new things with it. Same thing with The Fly. Cronenberg used the society's fear at that time of AIDS and the epidemic that was going on to really, really take what was kind of a goofy B movie that really, if you think about it, the original,
Yeah.
I mean, the original series is what it is, but no, the Cronenberg movie fucking makes people puke.
Yeah, it's grotesque. It is disgusting. But that's what makes it memorable, though, too.
And it works. That's the thing. It's kind of the better version of that story in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it sticks with you. I mean, I think I've seen like the last half of that film. I caught it on TV, and it's just like what a gruesome film. I mean,
yeah.
But that's, those are films that stand out though too, that are willing to go to places that, they're not playing it in the middle. He's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna, I'm going to make this just, you won't be able to forget some parts of this film. And thank you, David Cronenberg. Appreciate it. Absolutely.
And Grand Wazoo brings up a good point as well. Kurosawa grew up watching Westerns, and that influenced his movies heavily. And then ironically, he turned around and influenced Westerns. It's like George Lucas. He was influenced by things like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. And then he in turn made Star Wars. And then, he became the most influential director, which Star Wars became the most influential film of our time, pretty much. So there you go.
Now you got Tarantino too. He's a big guy. He's got a lot of influences, a lot of film knowledge.
Absolutely.
And you're seeing all these different elements from older stuff being, recycled, but in of course, a very original way. And it's fun stuff to watch.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was just say, yeah, that's one of the reasons I love Tarantino is because he brings something new to the table, but also something familiar. I actually feel like I'm watching one of those, grindhouse movies from the 70s.
Yep.
When I'm, he manages to capture that just perfectly. And yeah, there's not too many guys who can do that. Are you back, Andre, or are you still having issues?
Oh, I've been here the whole time.
Oh, okay, you were bopping in and out, so I wasn't sure what was going on. I was kind of
no. I just removed the extra thing, the one where the connection is unreliable. The 4G is reliable. It just sounds a little bit canned.
Yeah, I know we had a couple more super chats, though. I think we missed in between there, though.
Yeah, okay, give me 1 second. I just have to move away from the charger because nothing can ever be easy. And,
well, I thought we were almost caught up, and that's why you were waiting.
We were caught up, so I just have to double check and see if there's come any other ones in the meantime, which I think there might have been one or two. So yeah, just give me 1 second here to refresh and hope the battery doesn't die out on me in the meantime. Yeah, here we go. Cesario JPN says for $5, seeing now comic book resources is claiming that there was we got that one. No. Is claiming that there was a Black Flintstones concept that was unsuccessful twice. It was called the Blackstones.
I kind of vaguely remember that.
Well, of course, comic book resources would know.
Yeah, of course.
I do vaguely remember that now that it's mentioned, but
yeah. And Nicholas Horton says for £10 thank you so much. Warner Brothers recently tried with an animated Flintstones reboot called Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs.
Oh, that's right.
It didn't go over well with fans and was cancelled after 1 season.
I remember covering that.
The art style was poop stickers. So yeah.
Yeah, it was like that Cal Art shitty shit. Really dumbed down. which the Hanna-Barbera animation is already dumbed down.
Right.
So you take it to the next level and it's really
Dumbed down squared.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Tiberius Monk says for $5, Snyder's Dawn of the Dead was a remake I personally enjoyed. Also, hail to the Midnighters. Keep up the great work. Love this channel.
I will
thank
give
you,
it
Tiberius.
yeah, thank you, Tiberius. And I will give it that it was enjoyable and it was fun. I don't know if it was better than Romero's though.
Well, I think that that's a discussion worth having, but I'm a big fan of that particular remake. Like that's
It is one of the
best
better
remakes I
remakes,
know
yes.
of. Yeah.
But it's one of
Absolutely.
those few where I'd actually there's a really good argument as to whether or not it's better. Here's the thing with Snyder, and this is at least my part of the argument, is Snyder's remake is fun, but it just doesn't have the substance that the original has.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and then we have an interesting question from Bud's Boy Productions.
Oh, we're
that
going to get into
asks,
this.
Is there a difference between a remake and a reboot? Ooh,
Yes.
I love that question. Yes, there's a huge difference. Tom, want to take it away?
Sure. A remake is where you're actually remaking something that was a movie first and only a movie. And similarly, a reboot can be any of those things. But a reboot is where you're actually reestablishing it. But like the better suggest, like I'll say, like, okay, the Peter Jackson King Kong is a remake.
Yeah.
Okay. Great example.
Yeah.
A reboot, though, is like H2O. It's where you already have a pre-established thing, and then you go, wait a minute, we're going to toss all this other shit out, maybe keep one or two things, and then start from fresh. That's a reboot.
Yeah.
Or where you have something where it's been dormant for a long time, and they try and reestablishment. Superman Returns from Bryan Singer, that was probably a good example of a reboot. It's still technically in the Donner-esque world, but it's still its own thing. So yeah, go ahead.
Star Trek 2009.
Reboot. Yeah, reboot. Yeah, no, I agree completely, because I can do it even simpler. What I would say is that a remake, that's when you take an original movie and you make a new version of that one particular movie. A reboot is when you restart a franchise.
There is that. And the muddy area is between remake and readaptation. I think that's when people get really kind of confused, because, like, okay, the best example I can think of was the Carrie remake.
Well, we have a recent one, Mortal Kombat.
Well, is that really a remake?
No, it's not a remake, but many will think so, because
it's a readaptation.
Exactly, that's a readaptation. Same with Dredd in 2012. It's a readaptation, but people get confused because there was a movie before. Yeah, and also Casino Royale. That's another one.
That's a reboot, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of both, actually, or all three in actually that's kind of all three in one, because then you have the readaptation, whereas, you know, like it may have been a movie before, but you're going back to the source material. But the reason I brought up Carrie was as an example is because when they first shot that remake a couple years back, it was the book. It wasn't it had nothing to do with the original film, but they did a test screening, and some of the more memorable shit that De Palma put in the movie that wasn't in the book, the test screen audience were expecting. So MGM made them go back and reshoot it retroactively, making it a remake. Does that make sense? Because, like, okay, the ruby slippers in Wizard of Oz are only in that film. So when you're doing something that's Wizard of Oz related, you cannot, if you use the ruby slippers, then it's technically a remake then instead of a readaptation. Does that make sense? Yeah, something wasn't established in the original.
Sometimes it's not so clear cut.
Not so clear cut, but like that's to me where like that Carrie situation really kind of hit home for me in that sense, because if you're going to do it and you're going to readapt something, do it. Don't remake the other adaptation. That's the problem you have there, but that's where the gray area comes in. But yeah, it can be debated a little bit, but I think that's probably the better definitions, I guess.
Yeah. And also, there's a thing to mention the Thing, because many people say that Thing is a remake, but actually that's a little bit sketchy, because here's like the Thing, the original movie wasn't original movie. It was an adaptation of a short story, and the new movie was a new adaptation of the same story, and it didn't really draw that much inspiration from the previous movie adaptation. So that's actually a new adaptation more so than it is a remake.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I Spit on Your Grave. That was a remake. The recent thing, Prequel, was more of a remake. I would put that in that because it inspired more by the movie than the actual, unless they took stuff from the book that I'm not aware of. Scarface would be a remake.
Yes, that would absolutely be a remake.
Yeah.
And Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead was also absolutely a remake. Yeah.
Yep. Now, True Grit, it's technically a readaptation. So I'm trying to think. I don't think they took anything from the movie specifically with John Wayne. I think that was all stuff that was in the book.
Yeah, and on this note, we got like 2 subsequent super chats. Master Clockwork says the Halloween films reboot, remake, adaptation.
Take adaptation off the end, and you're right.
Yeah, and then Bud's Boy Production says Halloween 2018
reboot.
Yeah.
Or my famous made-up word, rebootquel.
Yeah, that's
rebootquel. Yeah, it's a sequel, but it's rebooting the franchise.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. Yeah, it's Facebook. Its Facebook stamp status is complicated. Yeah, the Terminator franchise is a great example of them consistently rebooting. I've seen the Terminator franchise brought up there too. Yeah, that's another example.
I think it's like funny that the last 3 Terminator movies, that would be like Terminator Salvation and Terminator Sega Genesis and Terminator Woke Fate, the 3 of them were all meant to start their own trilogies. Instead, the 3 of them, they make up a trilogy of failed intended trilogy starters.
Well, at least with Salvation, you can put an asterisk next to it because it can be a part 4. Because at least it has the characters from part 3, and it does kind of go off of that, that storyline to a point. But because Catherine Brewster is actually in Salvation and stuff like that. So, but after that, you're kind of sorry. You were saying, John?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, whenever we saw this with the MonsterVerse was was it Sony?
No, the Warner, or you mean the Universal monsters?
Universal,
the Dark
Universal.
Universe,
yeah. I mean, every time they want to establish, like a trilogy or this, universe, it just always seems to fall flat. Like anytime somebody has that idea, even Solo, a Star Wars story, I know Alden Ehrenreich he had signed on for 3 movies, and I think they had the intention of potentially making more of those if it worked. But it's just never a good thing to count your chickens before they hatch, I guess.
Absolutely. Then Culture Casino, our buddy, comes in making fun of Andre's English in the title, says John Talks is going to be in heavy metal live action film. Cool.
Yeah, maybe I need to go and fix that title a little.
Well, I told you should put the Flintstones in there anyway. I think we talked just as long on that as we did the heavy metal bit anyway. But with that, I think we're fairly caught up on everything. John, what you been up to over there? I know you've been doing some changes to your channel and stuff, so some of the audience may not be totally aware of what you're doing or what you do in general. If you want to kind of give everybody kind of an idea of what John Talks consists of.
Sure, thanks. And I just want to say thanks to Tom, Andre, Rob. Appreciate you guys, what you're doing over here. I do lurk in the live streams from time to time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, my channel, I just make silly videos. A lot of political stuff. It tends to be Joe Biden's speeches and whatnot. Yeah, and then I'll do live streams around the midnight hour. So
you get me through a lot of editing.
What's that?
You get me through a lot of editing.
Oh, okay, great.
There was times where you were like, before you kind of switched over there, I got kind of like freaked out because I had to find other things to listen to when you were doing your normal thing until you kind of got back in the swing of things. I was like, what's going on? Where's John? But like when you changed your channel and stuff.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I find myself doing the same thing as well, especially if I'm up late and sometimes working. It's just good to have that company. So That's cool to hear. But yeah, I guess that hour works out pretty well because there's just nobody, or that time frame works out pretty well because there's just nobody tends to be live around that time. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, do you still do some of the entertainment news, or is it all political now?
I'll definitely. The live streams are more. A lot of times, it's like the chat has that freedom to bring up some things
Right.
and talk about that. So, definitely, we've talked about Mortal Kombat. Nina and I we're going to be doing Infinite Talk tonight. It's actually on my channel, and we swap back and forth.
That's right.
And so, yeah, we'll get into entertainment, politics, pretty much just whatever is interesting. It's all it's all on the playing field. So yeah.
Right. And I just wanted to pre-warn everybody that it is a bit of a political slant compared to what it used to be. That's all.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I love your stuff, man. And the few times I've been on and hung out, and we love having you hang out here and on Midnight's Edge After Dark. And yeah, it's been too long. So yeah, we're glad to have you on the morning show proper.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sorry that technology chose to crap out on us today of all days. But yeah, what can you do? Well, what we can do is bring up another super chat because Master Clockwork says, "This is what makes Disney Star Wars such trash. It tries to be a reboot, a sequel, and a readaptation all at the same time."
Well, you're not wrong.
Yep. It's a good way to put it.
And not only that,
absolutely.
it's a bad one. Yeah, that's the sad part. Yeah.
And then Douglas Nelson says, "The one thing that would impress now with a reboot/remake would be to take an old property that utterly failed and turn it into gold." Yes, exactly. That's what they should do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remake the bad stuff. Like, there's one remake that I've been wanting for a decade. Disney seriously need to remake The Black Hole. Now, that was something with a great concept. And somewhat failed execution, like the 1979 Star Wars ripoff kind of
You
thing.
know what's funny is every time you say the black hole, Andre, I hear the theme song.
That's such a great theme song. It's one of the best theme songs of all time. That melody right there, so haunting. If you have that score, I wouldn't mind that.
I think I have the theme, but I don't know. I'll have to see if I have the entire score.
Well, the theme is the most important thing. I wouldn't mind a copy of that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're 100% right, Andre, and that's what we say a lot of the time in Preach. I guess I should say on Midnight's Edge After Dark, when this always comes up as well, is there's tons of and not just necessarily things that were bad, but things that just didn't live up to their potential. Like the one we really bring up often is Last Starfighter, which I know they're working on something, and they always generally are, but I think they're actually moving along now on the sequel. I don't know if it's a series or what the deal is, but there's something going on with it. But I know that's one we've brought up a few times. Rob, what's some of the other ones we brought up, that I know we bring it up from time to time where it's like, there's a few of those where it's like we'd love to see a new version of that. They just Enemy Mine, I think, is another one we brought up before as well, and Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
And Rob is gone. So Rob
had to drop out.
Oh, did he? I didn't see that.
Yeah, he had to drop out. So
okay.
Yeah.
So John, any films that you can think of that didn't quite live up to their potential and back in the day that could really use either a reboot or a remake?
Right now I'm kind of stumped, but I totally agree with this concept. Like there's so many, films that, didn't stick the landing, or, like the concept or the idea was good, but yeah, it just wasn't necessarily, or sometimes the technology wasn't up to speed, or but I'm trying to think. I nothing is really sticking out to me right now. But I'll probably wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be like, oh yeah, that film. But I'm sure the chat might have a few recommendations.
Well, and they're getting mad at some of my choices, but the point is those movies just didn't live up to the box office, or they didn't live on in infamy. Like, good luck going to find Enemy Mine on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Not in the US, you won't. Like, that's my point, is like these movies, they have a due date on them. Try and find Flight of the Navigator in the US. You won't find it. You can find it on Disney Plus right now, I think, or at least you could have. But same thing with Black Hole. You can only get that through the Disney Movie Club. Like a lot of these movies, as much as we love them, they didn't really get the they may be cult classics now to a point, but they're still not getting the attention they probably should. And that's why I'm kind of glad if they are rebooting Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
Right,
And Master Clockwork says remake the Toxic Avenger. That's actually happening.
I think I was going to say, weren't they talking about that?
That is in development. No, it's in development. They've even cast it. As far as if memory serves, it's the guy from Game of Thrones, the Tyrion Lannister from there. He's the Toxic Avenger. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's funny is I just picked up all of those movies for like dirt cheap on a sale on Blu-ray in a box set. It was really cool. Like for like $20, I got all 4 of them or whatever.
And Joshua Gonzalez says remake Event Horizon. They were talking about they were talking about doing that as a series. I'd be all for that. Like Event Horizon as a miniseries, that would be amazing.
But don't get me wrong, I understand the sentiment of like, don't leave enemy mine alone. Well, in this day and age, definitely leave it alone.
Right.
Because they wouldn't understand it now. But I don't know. Have you ever seen that one, John or Andre?
No, I haven't. But I understand.
Enemy Mine, I've seen it.
Yeah, you probably like that one, John. It's a good movie. It's got Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah. Star Trek, The Next Generation already remade it.
Technically,
literally that exact concept in
an episode
where
it's not just Star Trek, but it's a lot of shows have used a similar concept for bottle episodes, but they just expand it in a movie idea. And what it is basically the basic concept, John, is two warring factions, one being humans and an alien race, are fighting, and Dennis is the human and Louis Gossett Jr. plays the alien, and they both get stranded on this planet together. So they're being, worst of enemies, but they're stuck together to try and survive. So that's, just that basic kind of concept you get in a lot of TV shows and movies all the time. But yeah, it's really good though. It's really well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's like basically the idea of getting stranded on an island, with somebody else, right? Your worst enemy or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a great idea. Why not?
And it came out right in the, at the end of the Cold War there in the 80s and stuff. So it really kind of pulled a lot of that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And also, and no, Darmok is not the TNG episode I'm referring to. It's one with Geordi LaForge, that he's stuck on a planet with a Romulan, I think it was.
I was going to say that concept has been redone to death. There's even a Planet of the Apes TV series episode that uses that concept. That's a very, very used trope. And not just action, but comedy. You always have it in comedy in a sitcom where two characters who can't stand each other will get locked in a room together.
Yeah.
They got to work together to get out. Like, that's the whole, it's a pretty basic story, but it works. That's the great thing.
Yeah. Oh, and Sander Hammerslag points out that Enemy Mine is a sci-fi version of Hell in the Pacific by John Borman.
There you go.
That sounds actually extremely plausible.
I think he actually gets writing credit for that, if I'm not mistaken, to be honest.
Yeah, if they ripped the story off from him, then what?
No, I actually do think he's listed as one of the writers.
Yeah. And another one that just came to me is that there's could be like more of a readaptation. The movie Kull the Conqueror.
There you go.
It's a complete shit show because it started out as a Conan movie, and the original script for that Conan movie wasn't half bad. But then they got Kevin Sorbo to come in when they changed it to Kull because Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't come back, and that's when everything went to hell because he wanted the movie to be suitable to his audience of 12-year-olds who watched Hercules. And then the whole movie had to be dumbed down to that perspective, and the result is that the movie is thoroughly unwatchable. But you can still make a pretty amazing Kull movie. If you just go back to the source material. Yeah, or Crawl too, for that matter.
There's a lot
the two
of
are completely unrelated.
But unfortunately, we live in a day and age where I would not want them to touch these things. That's what sucks. The technology's there, but
and politically, for Kull, you'd have to do the Shadow Kingdom, and politically, you couldn't do that one today.
Joachim Stark says reboot Kindred the Embraced.
Oh yes. Oh, that would be amazing. Kindred the Embraced. That's based on the role-play series, Vampire the Masquerade. And they made a one-season miniseries back in 1996. It's had loads of all cool people like Brian Thompson and everything. That one really needs to be remade because that's amazing. You have different factions of vampires fighting against each other. It is awesome. At least it was when I saw it at the time. Maybe it doesn't hold up too well today.
It's been a while since I've seen
good
it.
reason to remake it.
Like Comics Division is right. It'd probably be Kindred the Disgraced now. Hey, Comics, how you doing, buddy? Like, yeah, no, like that's the sad part. There's so many things I would love to see with today's updates and technology, but I don't want anybody near the shit. And Dune has come up a few times jokingly, but yeah, like there's a great example of things that's a prime example right there, I think, of things that didn't really quite live up to their potential that could be reestablished.
Absolutely. And also, heavy metal is one of them.
Well,
because however good the original animated movie may be, and the sequel certainly has its moments too, there's a whole world in Heavy Metal magazine that can only be done justice by a series.
Yeah. Well, Highlander, they've tried that a few times now. Again, in this day and age, I just don't know. And with that note, though, I want to say thanks to John Talks for being here with us today.
Yeah.
Of course, man. Pleasure being here. Thank you.
Check out John Talks channel on YouTube. The wrenches have been sharing the link in the chat, so thank you for that, Natasha. And I think I don't know who else is here. Is Mr. Tickle Trunk here this morning? I don't know. He was up pretty late with us last night too, I think. So, but either way, I want to thank the wrenches for being here as well, and all you guys for listening. We couldn't do this without you. We got another super chat real quick. Master Clockwork says, imagine a proper Stormtrip Troopers. You can like the original film all you want, but it's literally a parody of the book. That is true.
I disagree that it's a parody. It's a satire.
It's not so, I was gonna say it's not so much a parody, but it's satire.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like there are two different animals in a weird way. Starship Troopers would probably make a great TV series if you wanted to do a serious adaptation of it like that. Yeah.
Oh,
but I mean, I do love the Paul Verhoeven Starship Troopers as well.
Yeah, it's good.
And Stephen Alton says, Andre does it again. I thought I was the only one who remembered Kindred the Embraced. No, there was also my countryman, or not my countryman, but my fellow Norseman from Sweden, who was the one who brought it up. But yeah, Kindred the Embrace is amazing. Also, on that note, there's another contemporary series that went around that time. Sam Raimi made it. It only went for one season. I just have to think. Like the Norwegian title was The Sheriff of Trinity. It was an amazing series. American Gothic was the original.
Oh yeah, okay.
That thing right there. Oh my God, it was so good. Basically, the devil is a sheriff, the sheriff in a southern state.
Well, speaking of embracing, though, I think it's time to embrace some koalas in the rain. What do you boys think?
Always embrace koalas in the rain.
They don't give a fuck about it, though, if you do.
Yeah.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.